This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Wow, it doesn't seem like a Monday today, but very busy day, though. It is NHL Trade deadline day. This is Winnipeg Sports Talk. Welcome to the program. On a little early today because there is lots going on around the National Hockey League, and we anticipate more to come over the next few hours here on WST. Not to mention a very busy weekend, a couple games for the Winnipeg Jets, lots going on in the world of sports to get to. So we are going to be packed for the next, definitely 2 hours, probably closer to 3, as we're, of course, starting about 10 minutes after noon right now. Shout out to everyone that's already with us in the YouTube chat. Great to have you with us. Thank you very much for knowing that we were on early. And this is a great note. If you're watching this maybe after the fact, turn on those notifications. So when circumstances dictate and we go on outside of our normal times, you know that we are live. A big thanks to everyone that's with us right now, and give a quick plug to the sponsors that make Winnipeg Sports Talk happen each and every day, including Princess Auto, Coolbet Canada, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Canadian Club Whiskey, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Royal Sports, Not Auto Court, Manitoba Battery, Culligan Water, Vita Health, Fresh Market, and our friends over at F Apparel. So this is how it's going to work, folks. A number of our media friends are down at the rink waiting for news to break. We will talk to Mike McIntyre from the rink in about 20 minutes. The following 1 o'clock hour leading into the deadline, we're expecting to have Sean Reynolds of Sportsnet and Kenny and Rennie fame, as well as Scott Billick join us. And we'll sort of play it by ear after 2 o'clock, depending on what is happening, what isn't happening, if there's still a number of deals trickling in, and see how we go from there. But the bottom line is there is a lot to discuss. Some moves the Jets have already made going back to last night after the game against the Chicago Blackhawks, and still waiting on an expected deal of longtime Winnipeg Jet Andrew Copp heading into the deadline. So let's get Michael Remis in here. Let me just mute the YouTube view right here. Let me get Remis in here, and let's get this thing going. Remo, how are you? How was the weekend?
Great weekend. I was on a high all weekend, Hustler, starting with Friday night at around 5 p.m. I don't know if you saw it, but there was this great article in the Winnipeg Free Press about this Winnipeg Sports Talk. So big shout out to Jeff Hamilton,
bozo YouTubers that somehow managed to get on the air every day and talk about sports. Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up right off the bat. A big thanks to the Free Press and of course Jeff Hamilton. If you didn't see it, check it out in Saturday's paper. Certainly, if you go to our socials, you can see the link for it. And if you have the opportunity to get your hands on a hard copy of the Saturday Free, it's certainly in there. But that was nice, and it was really great to get the response that we got from the article. And again, still a year in, Reem, we're still getting people that didn't know that we were doing this or didn't know where to find us. So it was great, and I'm sure we maybe even have some new people in today with us. Now, if you are with us today, just know that we normally are on live at 1 p.m. Central each and every day, but we figured, what the heck, let's get after it a little early today because there is lots going on when it comes to the home team, both on the ice and off the ice. Win last night in Chicago, very tough loss in Boston. But yeah, it was a great way to get into the weekend, and I know you had great feedback. I did too on all of our social channels, but really awesome for the folks at the Freep to tell a little story about us through the first year, and of course the people watching this, whether it be on YouTube or listening on the podcast, a huge part of that story as well.
Yeah, I can't believe this article here. I'm just going through on YouTube. Yeah, showed it to Michaela, who came and took awesome pictures of us.
That's right. There's where the magic happens, folks. There's the CTO's HQ.
We had to decorate. I had to hang the jerseys from the ceiling. I had all these posters that were in my parents' basement that they made me take away because I don't live there anymore. So I put them up. It looked nice, and she took some awesome pictures of us. So I'm so proud of this and really proud of the work that we've done here in a year. And yeah, these pictures are so nice. So what a great article by Jeff. Told the story. I got a ton of feedback as well. Posted it on our social media, Winnipeg Sports Talk, my personal one, LinkedIn. I mean, this is awesome. So pretty cool, I think. So big thank you to Jeff Hamilton. Oh, just a guy says share the link. It's on our YouTube community. It's on our Facebook. It's on our Twitter. But here, I'll post it in chat. There it is.
Yeah, we should almost pin that tweet or something up on our Twitter so people can see it for the next little while.
You know what? That actually that's some good social media use here. Let me pin that. So yeah, we should have that pin.
It's a great thing to do.
Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that?
You can't think of everything. I've got to come through with the odd good idea on here every now and then. So listen, let's get to it. And I guess we'll be able to talk about these games and last night's win and where the team is right now. But so far there's been some interesting moves. And I'll tell you right now, you can probably hear I'm a little under the weather. Haven't been feeling great for the last couple days. And I think I know what the NHL GMs are feeling about like right now. And maybe the guys on the Trade Center panel over on TSN. Because I went and I got some cough and cold syrup or whatever, which I normally do, which helps me knock me out, get a good sleep, and get back at it. I think I bought the wrong stuff, which instead of being nighttime, actually jacked me up through the entire night. And I was literally up all night. I was listening to podcasts. I was following it. But Remis, I was maybe the first person to see Darren Dreger's tweet at 4:30 in the morning that Nathan Beaulieu had been traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll get to the Beaulieu deal in a minute, but there was a couple other deals, beginning with last night's reacquisition of one Mason Appleton from the Seattle Kraken for a 4th-round pick that, I think most people that follow the Jets and have followed the Jets for the last couple of years were very, very into. The cost, not too much to get Appleton back. He's still making a very reasonable $900,000. Hasn't had numbers that are going to put him in a real different price category when it comes to doing a new deal. So I think it started off quite well for the Winnipeg Jets after getting a big 2 points last night. The Mason Appleton was back for a very reasonable return.
Yeah, I guess the deadline for the Jets kicked off last night, not 4:35 this morning when Darren Dreger reported Beaulieu to Pittsburgh. But we had talked in the chat about the Jets possibly bringing back Appleton. It just seemed to make a lot of sense. The Jets had an Appleton-sized hole on the third line. Christian Vesalainen, who got sent down to the Moose over the weekend, he hasn't had a good year. 3 points in 53 games. I mean, that's not going to do it. And Appleton was here. He's had success, and I don't really think he fit in with Seattle. He kind of bounced in and out of the lineup, up and down, and he never really had the success there that he did here. I mean, last year with Winnipeg, he had 25 points in 56 games. This year, 17 in 49. So far in Seattle, they've been selling off everyone. They traded Giordano, Calle Yarncroke, Marcus Johansson. So, you trade him for a 4th-round pick and next year? Sure, and I think that's, and then what? So you traded away, you get the 4th-round pick back that but in the Smith trade as well. So we can get to that deal. So I like this. We talked about it in chat, and I think importantly, he's an RFA after this season. So you have him for next year on the NHL. I think he'll solidify. He can play PK. And if you think the Jets are trying to make a run this year and they're trading away Andrew Copp, then he can help this year. But I haven't looked at I'm trying not to look at the Jets playoff odds, but they've been around 10% for the last week.
Yeah. Listen, this is it's a trade, and we've talked a lot about this. It's a trade for the future, but also somewhat for the present. I think it's pretty clear that barring something going very, very south on Kevin Cheveldayoff, that Andrew Kopp's going to be moved. Now, whether that is for picks, whether that's for a player that can come in, we'll find out. But the bottom line is, I think the expectation is that Andrew Copp is not going to be a Winnipeg Jet when they play the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow. And with where the forward group was to begin with. The bottom six had been, a source of concern. We talk about the lack of production from Vesalainen. Certainly Adam Lowry had been playing a lot better as of late, but a big part of that was playing with Andrew Copp. So with Copp out of the mix, they were going to need someone else to come in and step in that role. And, Mason Appleton, I thought, really flourished in that role as a third liner along with Lowry last year. So Mason Appleton back with the Winnipeg Jets. Nathan Beaulieu sent to Pittsburgh for essentially nothing. If I believe the conditions are the Jets will get a 7th round pick, which is the last round of the draft, if the Penguins get to the 3rd round of the playoffs and Beaulieu plays 50% of the games. I mean, this was a little probably clear in cap, although it doesn't really do anything because he was on LTIR anyways. But there was some interest from Brian Burke and Ron Hextall and Nate Beaulieu. So Pittsburgh took him, and listen, I think that's a good spot for him. It makes no sense to have Beaulieu playing here right now in Winnipeg with the young defensemen that are able to pop in if there is a spot for them in the lineup. I mean, it just makes no sense to have Nathan Beaulieu keeping those guys out. So they made that deal. The real interesting one, Reem, though, was this one, just about an hour ago, where the Winnipeg Jets sent the rights to Nathan Smith, who had a standout year in U.S. college hockey, and Brian Little's contract to the Arizona Coyotes in return for a 4th round pick. Now, I know there's some angst about this, people being angry that this happened. I mean, it's quite clear that the Jets weren't going to be able to sign Nathan Smith. I mean, that wasn't an ongoing topic, and I hadn't heard. Actually, I think I asked Ken about this last Friday, and he thought, the Jets will be trying to get him done and get him in here. Quite clear that Mike McIntyre, who's going to join us, we'll ask him about this. He had an interesting quote, said that, when he asked Kevin Cheveldayoff about his top prospects earlier this year, he omitted Nathan Smith, and maybe that should have been a sign that, they knew that they were going to have a tough time getting his name on a deal as he finishes his 4th year. So as opposed to losing him for nothing, they get a 4th rounder, and they get they won't have to deal with the LTIR that they had. I mean, you still eventually get that money back, but as we've all seen what the Jets have been going through this season, being right up at that number, it hasn't been a great situation for them. So that will be alleviated as well. And it helps the Arizona Coyotes get to the cap playing in a 5,000 seat arena.
Yeah, I think this is, first of all, I see a lot of people very upset that Nathan Smith, didn't want to sign with the Jets. I mean, that's the rules. If you're a college player and you play your 4 years, you can become a free agent. And I'm all for players being able to choose their own destination. I think careers can be made or broken depending on luck of the draw and who picks you in the draft. So if he wants to be in control of his career, he's earned that right, and he can do that. So, props to him. And we're kind of looking forward to Nathan Smith. We thought that they could sign him, maybe impact the Moose for a run. If for him, he could burn a year of that ELC. But look, if he wasn't going to sign with the Jets, and that's what Darren Dreger reported, and that's what, as you mentioned, Mike McIntyre kind of got the sense of that from Kevin Cheveldayoff's conversations earlier. Then sure, you get a 4th round pick, but also I think more importantly, you trade Little's contract and you're not in LTIR next year, so you can try to accrue some more cap space during the season to make a trade acquisition at the deadline, if you're in a playoff spot. So I actually think that was a pretty good trade. And someone said to me, what could they have gotten for Nathan Smith if Brian Little's contract wasn't attached? I was like, well, Jack McBain got a 2nd from Minnesota, and he was like a 2nd round pick. Nathan Smith was a 3rd round pick in the same draft, or 90th overall. I guess that's just under 3rd in the 32 team NHL now. I think getting a 4th and getting out of LTIR for next season, that seems like a pretty good move to me. So I like what the Jets have done so far. Getting off Beaulieu and acquiring Appleton, which I think will help you next year and a little bit this year as well. But we'll wait and see about Andrew Copp. And Paul Stastny's a name that I haven't heard at all. I've been watching Trade Center all day. Oh, they're highlighting the Jets as it is. But Andrew Copp seems to be, he's going to be traded. It's just a matter of where and how much.
Yeah, I mean, and I've sort of mentioned this a few times. I mean, over the past few weeks, like for people that were hoping for a big return on Paul Stastny, I mean, like when the Jets acquired him, he was a 4th round pick, and he was younger at that point. Now he did have a higher contract, which is important to note. He was making 6.5 then, and he's making 3.75 here. But I mean, Paul Stastny is playing in the top 6 right now, the Winnipeg Jets. And, if it's a 5th round pick or something that's out there, some people will say just do it anyways. But I think I would have to say that, if you're not getting what you believe the asking price is, don't do the deal. And, hey, you won a game yesterday. Hopefully you can continue and, hopefully you can make a run and make the playoff. We realize that's, somewhat of a long shot right now. But beyond the Stastny deal, Copp's interesting. And I've said a number of times on this program, I didn't think that Andrew Copp was going to, garner the Winnipeg Jets a first-round pick or first-round pick value. I've been coming around on it a little bit, though, as of late, because of some of the prices that we've seen that have been paid by contenders this year heading into this deadline. Problem is, though, that many, like, for instance, Boston, that we've heard that has been so interested in Andrew Copp. Well, they just gave a ton of picks to Anaheim to get Hampus Lindholm and got that done. Colorado, who we've talked about, might be a nice fit for Andrew Copp. Well, their first round pick was already traded when they desperately had to acquire Darcy Kemper at the beginning of the year. So, listen, you really just have to navigate the waters as they come. I believe it was Drager, and if it wasn't Dregs, it was Saravelli, and I apologize to whoever I'm screwing up last night. That the Jets had 2 second-round picks on the table for Andrew Copp. So I don't think the return will be anything less than that if a deal is done, which we expect that will happen. But I'll tell you what, if you can turn that into a first or potentially, a more NHL-ready younger player that's under team control that can come in and, be on a different schedule than Andrew Copp. So, Remo, I was just mentioning that, it sounds like Drake's reported that the Jets have tabled 2 second rounders for Copp. I didn't think that there'd be a first rounder, but, the market has sort of made me maybe reconsider that a little bit with some of the prices that have been paid. The problem, however, is some of the most likely teams to acquire Copp have already traded their first rounders and a bunch of other assets in earlier deals.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, you saw some of the trades early on. Calle Yarncroke was one that stood out to me as a comparable, and some of the other teams going for their guys. You saw Florida trading for Giroux, and what Toronto traded for. That's a defenseman, but I kind of agree. As the longer you wait, I think the market kind of thins out, and teams may go separate ways. Or the teams that are available, as you said, don't have a first-round pick. So I guess we'll kind of wait and see. But I think I think you have to get something. And by all accounts, I mean, Drager's reporting Copp's going to be traded. I saw Scott Billick, Emily Kaplan of ESPN. So we're kind of just counting down, and the Jets are trying to get as much as they can. Someone texted me, they'll probably get like a second with maybe a conditional first if, they make the Cup final or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that actually kind of makes sense. So I guess we're hearing Colorado, Boston.
You know what? We hear all these same teams, but those teams have already been really active. Don't be surprised if it's somebody else. Well, and we've seen this before. And I guess not to say these guys aren't really plugged in and kind of hear what's happening in and around the league, but it wouldn't surprise me if a team that's maybe been a little quieter up until this point popped in. Now, whether that's for Copp or some of the other players that are still remaining on the market. We will see, I guess, as the afternoon continues. But until it's done, and until the Bob father and the boys are reporting that a deal is done, and I think Chevy's playing this. I mean, which he has done in the past on a number of occasions. Sometimes to his benefit, sometimes maybe to detriment. But playing right up to the deadline, right up to the time of the deal, and. I have a feeling he's probably sitting there. He's probably talking to 2 or 3 different GMs saying, this is the price. This is what I will trade Andrew Copp for, and seeing if one of them comes around closer to the top of 2 p.m.
Yeah, we are counting down. And again, I haven't seen Paul Stastny's name mentioned once. I was watching TSN. I haven't seen it on Twitter. But Andrew Copp seems to be the guy. And you talk about some of the other trades. Boston was on the Hampus Lindholm deal. Seems to be a lot from the weekend. They gave a first, 2 seconds, and 2 defensemen, 2 Jet defensemen, and then they signed Hampus Lindholm to a big deal. Florida getting Claude Giroux on Saturday. But I was surprised they got 2 players, and Connor Bunneman and German Rubtsov for Owen Tippett, a first and a third. I saw Flyers fans not too happy about that one.
Well, and the thing was,
yeah.
and I don't know what's up with this, but I mean, Giroux had a full no move. And he said all along the only team he wanted to go to was Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether he just likes the weather down there. I mean, I don't know why. Like when Colorado is knocking on your door and you're an expiring contract, why the hell wouldn't you go to Colorado? I mean, to me, that's the clear-cut best chance to win the cup. But, you know, it's further away from Philly. As I said, I'm not going to speculate why, but I mean, you do wonder why a guy that, you know, was apparently desperate to go get an opportunity to compete for a championship and get moved is limiting the options to just one destination. But that tied the hands of the Flyers. So, you know, they got their future first rounder. They got Owen Tippett and I think a third rounder for Giroux. But I do think there were some people around the league that were scratching their heads a little bit that they maybe weren't able to turn that into more. Although this has all the signs, Remo, of one of those trade deadline deals that just, you know, doesn't work. I like Giroux. I hope that he actually does do well in Florida, and I'm kind of keen on the Cats doing some good things this year. But man, I mean, he has been a productive player, I guess, for Philadelphia. They haven't done any winning. They've just gone into the tank. He's going into a winning locker room, a team that's done great things this year. You know, it's going to be very different than it was where it was sort of his show running it in Philadelphia.
Okay, apparently on Trade Center right now, this is coming across my Twitter. I see people writing in chat, and I'm curious about how Giroux fits. Apparently, Craig Button just went down hard on the Jets coaching staff, and
the Jets coaching staff,
and ripped the Jets coaching right now. Scott Billick tweeting, Craig Button dropping truth bombs right now. Down goes Brown saying he's going hard on the Jets coaching. Other people saying he's ripping in, spitting facts. I want to hear this. I think he was probably saying a lot of stuff that that we agree with. I mean, the biggest thing was Andrew Copp last week saying about the penalty kill, about the lawn chairs comment. I mean, I don't think we talk about this enough because they were doing that penalty kill for years. Everyone in here was saying they need to get more aggressive. Then Andrew Copp's described as getting your lawn chairs out, watching them tee off. And then I think Murat asked him at the end, he's like, so do you like this new penalty? I was like, yeah. And you just like see the frustration on his face. And I think stuff like that. And I think there's been a lot of player usage issues. I mean, not elevating, Pierre-Luc Dubois in terms of minutes. So I do think some of this is justified, but I do need to hear this clip. It sounds juicy. I'll say that. And I'll make way for, is that Mike?
Yeah, see if you can get that, and we'll have some time to play that a little later on. Mike McIntyre is going to join us from the rink in just a second. Hey, a big shout out to our friends over at F Apparel, custom suits for men at great prices from a great local company down at 190 Smith Street at F Apparel. Every guy needs at least one suit that fits and looks great. At F's custom made suits start at just $400. They've got it all actually: suits, dress shirts, chinos, golf pants, untucked dress shirts, shoes, ties, accessories, and more, and great deals for your wedding party and your high school graduate. Pop down and see them at 190 Smith Street or online at fepapparel.com. Our friends at Vita Health Fresh Market continue to crank out Winnipeg's best prices on Winnipeg's largest selection of natural and organic supplements, beauty products, and groceries. Delicious lunch options as well, like Vita Market, salads, soups, sandwiches, and more in their grab-and-go deli. And if you can't make it to the store, visit their brand new, fully shoppable website to buy online or schedule a delivery with Instacart. That new website is myvita.ca, and you can visit Vita Health Fresh Market at one of 7 Winnipeg locations, including the newest store in Linden Ridge. And of course, our friends at Culligan Water. Remo had to just duck out for a Culligan delivery, as a matter of fact. This is how it works at Winnipeg Sports Talk. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. But they, of course, are the go-to people for all things water for your family and business here in Winnipeg and Southern Manitoba. They've got it all: water softeners, filters, bottled water coolers, whole home systems, drinking water systems, citywide delivery services, as well as commercial and industrial water products and solutions. Go see them. Culligan Water, 1200 Sargent Avenue, 204-694-5180. And online at drinkculligan.com. All right, let's get down to the rink. Mike McIntyre hanging out, waiting for something to happen, although a few things have already happened. Mike, thanks so much for doing this. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, by the way, Huss, does that make Remis a water carrier? Like, is he carrying water for the team?
I think the Culligan man was the water carrier at the time, but
Point by you, yeah.
he maybe did a little bit of that. I see what you're doing in there. I don't know where you want to start. The games are whatever. We'll maybe touch on that if we have time. But let's start off with last night. I mean, post game, we hear that Mason Appleton's coming back to the Winnipeg Jets. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does a couple things. It feeds into the narrative that I think we're seeing play out, and we're going to see play out by the time the day is done here, that Kevin Cheveldayoff is kind of sucking and blowing at the same time. He's buying, but he's also selling. And in the case of Mason Appleton, they're buying a product that they already know, right? This is a player that they drafted, that they developed, and certainly earned his way into the NHL through the Jets system. And he's a player, to be honest, that it pained them to lose. They had to lose somebody. And of course, there was a lot of hand-wringing at the time about, who gets exposed, who gets protected. We know, of course, that the Jets ultimately chose to protect Logan Stanley, and Mason Appleton and Dylan DeMello were exposed. A lot of people thought it was DeMello maybe that would be the one to go. And interesting now that Dylan DeMello is, a name that gets thrown out there as a potential trade chip for the Jets. But I think they're very happy to get Mason Appleton back because they know, what he is. They know what he is in the room. They know what he is on the ice. And he obviously some cost control and some term. And so when you're the Jets and you're looking at, selling some of your UFAs, those are holes that need to be filled. And I think for the Jets, they're kind of trying to walk both lines here. They don't want to lose guys for nothing, but they also don't want to wave the white flag on the current season, not with the fact that they're just 4 points out and 19 games and, some games here coming up in the next week to 10 days that I think they would look at as a real opportunity to make some hay. So a guy like Mason Appleton, he can step right into the lineup, and presumably fill a spot that I would expect in the next, 90 minutes might be vacated by an Andrew Copp and or a Paul Stastny. So they know what they're getting. And I know the Jets are very happy to get Mason Appleton back in the fold.
And I'll be honest, Mike, I was, listen, I think very highly of Mason Appleton. I've been, a fan of his and, was disappointed to see him leave, but we knew that was the circumstances. I'll do Mason Appleton for a 4th round pick all day long, especially when you consider that it's not like he's lit it up this year in Seattle. He'll be going into, a new contract where, you could potentially get him on a medium-sized term at a very affordable rate. And that's exactly what the Winnipeg Jets need. But my first and foremost reaction to seeing Mason Appleton coming here was that Andrew Copp's as good as gone. Were you thinking the same thing?
Agreed. I don't think the Jets look. I don't think they're selling draft picks for assets. I don't think they're just buying. Put it that way. And so I don't think you're making a move like that again unless you're thinking ahead and knowing, hey, we're going to have a hole here in our top 9 that needs to be filled, and who can we fill that with? Okay, the price was certainly right. I think he's making $900,000 this year, and he'll be a pay with arbitration rights this summer. But given the season he's having, and he's had some injuries this year, 6 goals, 11 assists, like he's not going to get a big number. So that's something the Jets need. They need more guys that A, can produce, and B, not take up huge chunks of the cap, because they're a top heavy team when it comes to, you look at the forwards and then you look at their top 4 blue liners and what the prices on those guys are. You need guys that are, at or near league minimum who can also be contributing players. And in Mason Appleton, they get a guy who found some real success here last season on a 3rd line role. Granted, it was with Lowry and Copp, and we expect in the next 87 minutes, there's a good chance that he won't be able to play tomorrow night with one of those guys. Or I guess he wouldn't be able to play with either, because Adam Lowry's out of the lineup with COVID. We know at least one more game tomorrow night. But yeah, I think the price was right, and it just made a lot of sense for the Jets. I guess one surprise to me would be, Huss, that that Seattle's willing to give up on Mason Appleton so quickly. They don't have any players for Seattle, it seems. And I get that they're trying to stockpile picks and whatnot, but they also need guys that can play in the here and now. And I'm a little surprised that Seattle, would just sort of pull the chute so quickly on a guy like Mason Appleton. But they obviously, have other plans out on the West Coast.
Yeah, well, I think they quickly moved to plan B, Mike, when we saw the way this season was going for them.
Right.
And they said, you know what, maybe we're going to, I know Vegas set the bar pretty high, but let's go back to old school expansion rules and just suck. And let's see if we can get a couple real high draft picks, a couple franchise players, and go from there. And that certainly is sort of what it seems like it's been happening with Yarncroc dealt. With Mark Giordano dealt, Mason Appleton dealt. I mean, Marcus Johansson just got traded to the Washington Capitals as well. So there's plenty of that. And just as an aside, I mean, looking ahead, if this Copp trade does happen, I mean, I think Mason Appleton immediately gets plunked down there on that line. Svechnikov had been a guy that had certainly had his moments this year and had been playing well at times. They'd also run afoul of the coach at times as well. But I'll tell you what, Jansen Harkins picked a pretty good time to have a couple goals and have a game like he had on Sunday night to remind the coach that, hey, he and the general manager for that matter, that he is a viable option if, in fact, Andrew Copp goes to greener pasture.
Yeah, that was a nice looking third line last night. As I said, I doubt we see it again because I doubt Andrew Copp is still here later this afternoon. But, Copp, Svechnikov, Harkins, I know it was a makeshift line of sorts because of the Lowry COVID diagnosis, and they sort of slapped that together last minute. But those guys certainly seem to click. And you're right; it's a good chance for a guy like Jansen Harkins, who far too often this year he's kind of been an afterthought. Like he's on the fourth line, and he's usually only playing 4 or 5 minutes. Dave Lowry seemingly has fallen into the old Paul Maurice trap of barely playing the fourth line, even though he's constantly said that that's something he wants to prioritize, and then that it just never seems to happen. And so in his case, he gets the bump up the lineup, and he certainly produces. And these 2 goals, that was probably the bare minimum last night. He could have had a lot more than that. He had some great chances, and good for Jansen Harkins. And we'll see if that now opens some doors for him down the stretch. And certainly if, Copp and or Stastny are moved by the deadline today, again, depending on what they get back and if they get NHL ready returns or picks and prospects, there certainly would be an opportunity for Jansen Harkins to play a bigger role, and certainly was up for the task last night.
I want to talk about this Little and Smith trade, but as it pertains to Copp and Stastny, as we speak right now, and we're hearing everyone saying that they do expect Copp to be dealt. I'm certainly in that case. I haven't heard much at all on Paul Stastny, and I think back to the last time the Jets reacquired him, it was for a 4th round pick. He's playing a top 6 role right now with the Winnipeg Jets, along with Scheifele and Wheeler. I don't know. I guess as we speak right now, I'm thinking it's probably less likely that Stastny gets moved, as likely as it is that Copp finds a new home.
100%. I think, for the Jets, like you could stomach, using Stastny as a self-rental, if you will, and not feel like you let a major asset leave for nothing when he presumably goes and signs with another team this summer. Or maybe he re-signs with the Jets. It would have to be obviously at a much lower number to make that work. But we know Paul Stastny, he's waived his no trade to come here twice. Like, Paul Stastny loves Winnipeg and he likes this group. So who knows? And so I think for a number of reasons, like you say, Huss, Paul Stastny on the open market, today, he's not fetching you a big return. And he's certainly not fetching you a guy that is going to play immediately step into the role that Stastny is playing right now. Now, I guess you can debate whether Paul Stastny should be in that role, but I mean, he's having a pretty nice season. And so I could see the Jets just deciding, you know what, we're not out of this playoff race, and Paul Stastny is still a pretty useful piece to us. So yeah, if we lose him in the summer for nothing, again, this isn't a guy who's going to go sign a multi-year long-term deal the way we expect an Andrew Copp would this summer. And that's why you can't afford to just let Andrew Copp leave and you get nothing to show for it. And if the Jets aren't re-signing Andrew Copp, and I do not suspect that they are, then you have to move him today to get something. And I think right now, I think the delay in Andrew Copp being traded is that the Jets are hoping between now and 159 that the price goes up, that the teams get desperate. The game of musical chairs, like everybody knows the music's about to stop. Nobody wants to be left without a chair. And a team kind of makes them an offer that goes beyond what's already been offered. And Frank Cervelli reported, 2 second-round picks, but the Jets are holding out for a first. But again, if 2 seconds is the best you can do, then that's what you have to do on Andrew Copp. I don't think there's the same pressure on Paul Stastny. And so it wouldn't surprise me, Huss, if Paul Stastny is still a Winnipeg Jet beyond this afternoon for the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where you're at on this, Mike. I mean, I'll be honest, I kind of thought that 2 seconds would have been sort of the top end return for Andrew Copp. I mean, especially when we saw what Calle Jarnkrok went for. And I mean, Kopp's numbers this year are slightly better than Jarnkrok's. I mean, over the last 5 years, Jarnkrok's would be a bit better, but they're trending in different directions right now. And we've also seen Kevin Cheveldayoff play his cards very close to the vest right up until 159, as you mentioned. So I have no doubt that that's exactly what happened. And hey, you know what? If he can somehow squeeze a first rounder out of this from somebody, for sure. The one thing that I do wonder about, though, Mike, is so many of these teams that had been rumored that to be in on Copp have already traded their first round pick, like Colorado and Boston. Like, I wonder whether there's a suitor that even if they wanted to make that deal, whether they have the capital to make it.
Yeah, the New York Rangers are one team that, the Rangers have been scouting the Jets a ton lately. Like they were here pretty much every game for the last few weeks, and they were on the road as well. And the Rangers have been watching the Jets for something. I actually thought Paul Stastny to the Rangers might make some sense. We know Gerard Gallant loves Paul Stastny. He played for him in Vegas, and of course he's behind the bench. And so maybe that's who they were here watching. But it is, and they do have the picks. The Rangers certainly do. They also have some prospects in the system. But again, I just wonder if the Jets are more interested in a piece that could help them right now. And I go back to Boston and a guy like Jake DeBrusk, who very curiously signed a 2-year contract extension today with the team that he's made it very public he does not want to play for. And to me, that issue facilitate a little easier to potentially trade Jake DeBrusk. So I think, whether it's the Jets that are on the other end of that, again, Boston is a team that we know has had interest in Copp, has been watching the Jets closely. Could a Copp for DeBrusk trade make some sense? I think it could. Would there have to be other pieces? To me, Huss, a big part of Copp boils down to this. Does the team acquiring him think that they can retain him, that they can lock him up? And obviously that changes the receipt significantly if the team, can get a contract done. So maybe that's part of the holdup. Maybe there's a team out there that is now having a conversation with Kurt Overhart, to see what kind of numbers they'd be looking at and whether that's in the cards, because the Jets would obviously reap the rewards in a bigger way if that team knows that this isn't just a rental, but a player that's going to help them long term.
Well, and that seems to be exactly what happened in the Hampus Lindholm deal, where, they got the deal done. And then very shortly thereafterwards, he had an 8-year extension at $6.5 million. Listen, Nate Beaulieu goes to Pittsburgh for basically no return. If Pittsburgh has a nice playoff run, it'll be a 7th rounder. I mean, it just, to me, that opens up more room for younger players if those spots make it. Not the most noteworthy of deals, although you know what? Listen, I know he took a lot of heat sometimes for some disastrous plays at times, but hey, he was a good teammate, a guy that stood up for his teammates, and I think he was definitely well liked. The very interesting deal, though, was, speaking of well liked, Brian Little, whose contract is now owned by the Arizona Coyotes, along with a young man that we'd spent a lot of time talking about this year, Nathan Smith, who was a finalist for the Hobey Baker Award. The rights to Smith and Little's contract go to Arizona for a 4th round selection. Break that one down for us, Mike.
Yeah, so the real value here for the Jets is not the 4th round pick. I mean, sure, they hope that turns out to be something someday, but that is not why the Jets made that trade. The Jets made that trade for 2 reasons. Number one, they weren't going to be able to sign Nathan Smith this summer. And a guy who, as you say, a Hobey Baker finalist, guy they drafted now, I guess, 4 years ago, who just played for the U.S. Olympic team, obviously having a terrific final year of college eligibility. They were going to lose him this summer, not unlike, say, Andrew Copp. He was going to walk for nothing. So the Jets were going to use him now as a trade chip. And, getting out from Brian Little's 2 more years at almost $5.3 million that's been buried on LTIR for the last 2 years, it does not help the Jets today. It doesn't allow them to spend one extra penny today at the trade deadline. However, there is a significant benefit to the Jets for the next 2 years that they were going to have to pay Brian Little, to account for his contract on LTIR. And to not completely overcomplicate it, there's added salary cap flexibility that the Jets now have. Teams can accrue or essentially accumulate cap space during the year. For every dollar that you're under the ceiling, that basically extrapolates each day of the season. And so we see teams on trade deadline day have a lot more cap space to wheel and deal because of accumulated cap space that's piled up over the year. When you're using LTIR as the Jets have for the last 2 seasons, you cannot accumulate any cap space. That benefit is lost to you. So this now opens the door. And I saw one great example. I forget the website, but they used the $1 million term as an example. That if a team has $1 million of cap space on opening night, it could accumulate to the point that it's worth $5 million on trade deadline day. The Jets don't have that today. They will now have it the next 2 years because they got rid of Brian Little's contract, which the Coyotes, curiously enough, they do not have to stick that contract on LTIR because the Coyotes, they're so close to the floor of the salary cap, they can just put Brian Little on regular injured reserve, not LTIR. That way they get the accumulated cap space that the Jets didn't by using LTIR. But the Coyotes are a team that has that ability. And that's why they were able to leverage this to Winnipeg and say, sure, we'll take that little problem off your hands. What are you going to give us for it? Well, what the Jets gave them was the rights to Nathan Smith, a guy that I suspect they think that they can sign and might end up being a nice, addition for them. So the Jets had to pay a price to get out from the little LTIR.
You made an interesting comment in a tweet, kind of thinking back that, now this all makes sense with Kevin Cheveldayoff when he was asked about the top prospects and, rattle off a bunch of dudes, none of them being Nathan Smith, which did at the time maybe seem a little strange with the season he was having. But I think reading the tea leaves right now is quite clear that they weren't too optimistic about him deciding to sign with the Jets, considering his situation.
Yeah, that was back in January at his sort of mid-season, and I remember him mentioning all these prospects they had, and I actually said to him, I noticed you didn't mention Nathan Smith. Kind of what's going on with him? And then Kevin Cheveldayoff said a few nice things about Nathan Smith and mentioned that he could be a possibility to sign once his college season was done and maybe even join the Manitoba Moose. We've seen that happen where players will join, but I think they knew that there was going to be an issue. And my colleague, Jeff Hamilton, as well, actually talked to Nathan Smith just prior to the Olympics when he was selected to Team USA. And Jeff kind of said the same thing, that, his spidey senses were tingling, that Nathan Smith didn't exactly sound like a guy gung-ho to come to Winnipeg. And I guess that raises the question, Huss, why? What was Nathan Smith's problem with the Jets? I believe he's from Florida, Nathan Smith is originally. Look, he's a center. Maybe he looked at the depth chart in the organization and feels that it's going to be a tough situation in the next couple of years to kind of crack the top 6. I'm sure that's where he'd like to be, right? He sees Mark Scheifele's got terms still, a couple more years. They got Pierre-Luc Dubois. They got a young phenom like Cole Perfetti. They got Adam Lowry. They got David Gustafsson. Maybe he just said, maybe him and his agent looked at the Jets and said, hey, I want to play center in the NHL. How's that going to happen? And a team like the Coyotes, of course, they're very much looking for young guys that can, maybe form their next core. So I suspect that it wasn't anything personal. Oh, who knows? Maybe he hates Winnipeg. Maybe he doesn't like snow. Whatever the case, it wasn't going to work out. And I guess good for the Jets to, again, they're benefiting the 4th round pick. Who knows what that turns into? More than that, though, it's the cap flexibility. And again, it's not losing an asset for completely nothing, which would have been the case with Smith.
Mike McIntyre is with us from the Winnipeg Free Press, live from Canada Life Center, waiting for, the trade deadline to come. And we'll hear from, do we know what time are we expecting to hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff at some point this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, if the Jets don't do anything kind of right up against the buzzer, we expect it'll probably be around 2:30, 3 o'clock. Of course, there is the possibility that it comes right down to the wire. And if Kevin Cheveldayoff is stuck on hold with NHL Trade HQ processing a trade, I suspect that would get pushed back a little bit. We know Mason Appleton is actually on his way to Winnipeg later today, and he'll be at the morning skate tomorrow. He won't be talking today, though, because he's in transit. We'll hear from him tomorrow morning. And I do expect he will be a player tomorrow night for the Jets. Interesting, too, Huss. Another thing to keep an eye on today is the clear day rosters for the AHL.
Yeah.
Teams have to, I believe it's that same time, or maybe they get an extra hour, but it's this afternoon where if you want a player to be eligible for the AHL playoffs, you have to kind of paper transaction them. One guy to watch for me is Cole Perfetti, who's on LTIR with the Jets. And we've kind of been having a debate down here. And I believe the answer is that, yes, the Jets could paper him to the Moose, even though he's technically injured, that the player shouldn't be punished from an opportunity just because he's currently hurt. So we'll keep an eye on the transaction wire later today. I would expect Ville Heinola will also be papered to the Moose. The problem, though, if you're the Jets, is once today ends, you only have 4 recalls under non-emergency situations. So you have to be very careful. You can't just kind of have the shuttle going back and forth from the Jets to the Moose here. So you have to be a little more judicious with your call-ups from this point on. Of course, there's also the cap no longer exists, and there's no roster limit on that sort of thing. So some Jets transactions likely will be coming later this afternoon. And the Jets, by the way, they do have to make a move to get Mason Appleton on the roster because they technically are over the cap right now. It would be as simple as sending Jeff Malott back to the Moose, which I expect would be what they would do. But again, we don't know what's happening with Copp and Stastny and whether or not, do they fill, if they move one or two of those guys, are they getting immediate returns that fill the spots? Are they having to call up from the farm? It should make for an interesting next few hours around here for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Mike, in addition to Copp, are you hearing anything about other Winnipeg Jets? We've spent a lot of time talking about the blue line and the 5 veteran defenders. I mean, I think it's probably more likely that if a move like that happens, which probably has to happen at some point, it's in the offseason. But then again, we're seeing some pretty nice prices paid for defenders right now, albeit I think the term on these contracts really complicates Kevin Cheveldayoff's ability to deal any of them.
It does, but that's where a guy like, say, Brendan Dillon is interesting to me. I think Nate Schmidt and his number and his term is probably going to scare some teams away. But a guy like Brendan Dillon, we just saw what Josh Manson went for, right? And, Josh Manson is not having a very good season. And I would argue a team would, I'd prefer to have Brendan Dillon on my team than Josh Manson. And of course, Brendan Dillon, unlike Josh Manson, though, he's a pending UFA. He's got the term. But, I got to think that the defense market being what it is and the Jets knowing that they have maybe a position of strength to operate from, I would be surprised if we see a guy moved today. Again, because I think the Jets are also weighing the fact that they're still in a race here, right? They view this as they don't want to just throw the white flag up and say we surrender. They believe, and you look at their schedule, Huss, like their next 5 games, they're going to play a Vegas team tomorrow that, they've won a few in a row here, but they kind of hit the skids before that. But they're playing in Minnesota tonight, so they're getting a team on a back-to-back. Then you get Ottawa, Columbus, Arizona, and Buffalo. So there's a chance here if the Jets could string 4 or 5 wins together, something they haven't been able to do since the calendar flipped to 2022. I mean, who knows? So I think if the deal like that were to happen, it is much more likely in the offseason. And I wouldn't be saying that if the Jets were standing here today, 8 points out of that final spot. Then I'd say all bets are off, and you're maybe looking to maximize what you could get now from a desperate team that's willing to overpay. I just don't really see it at this point, because I think the Jets would view it as a message to the rest of the group that, they're surrendering. And I don't think Kevin Cheveldayoff wants to do that to this group.
Yeah, you know what? We talk a lot about that. I mean, the message to the group. At a certain point, the GM's got to do his job and the players have to do it. And the reason why the general manager is in that position right now, if the players really want to know, there's one place where they can look, and I think you know where that is. It's on a wall in front of them, and they'll see the cells in their reflection.
Well, although Craig Button, and I caught the end of his comment as I came out to the rink, just from the media room here. I did catch a bit of his comments where he kind of laid this not so much at the feet of the players, but at the feet of the coaches, which I thought was interesting because, of course, they've had two different coaches this year. And to be fair, and I know Remis was going to dig the clip out, what I heard Craig saying wasn't so much, he wasn't saying Dave Lowry's a terrible coach. He was laying it more at the foundation of the systems, that whether or not it's that he's not made the changes you need. And it's hard to argue. I mean, we watch a game like last night against the Blackhawks where the Jets are making some of those same mistakes. They're so loosey-goosey in their own end. The stuff that we've beaten to death over the years about this team that we thought they had finally cleaned up, or because they brought in some new personnel. Some of the same issues, the puck management, the inability to clear out the front of the net. And if you want to exhibit A on that, Huss, I don't know if you saw it. Go back and look at what Bruce Cassidy said post Friday night about the Jets and their inability to clear the front of the net. You don't usually hear other teams' coaches talking about a weakness of an opponent. Bruce Cassidy threw the defense core and the system the Jets use under the bus and then drove over it. When he talked about how he doesn't really understand why they're so easy to establish the front of the net, that was a pretty damning comment from a rival coach that, I'm sure was heard loud and clear within the organization. So is that coaching and systems? Is that personnel and performance? Is that a combination of all of those? But you are right. I mean, at the end of the day, Kevin Cheveldayoff, he can't just be thinking about what's going to give the Jets the best chance to win tomorrow night. He's also got to be thinking what's going to give them the best chance to win next season and the season after that, which goes back to the same old issue we've talked about a bit before, which is, well, is Kevin Cheveldayoff around for that? And I would suggest the fact that he's in this position today, and especially if we see him make a move like Andrew Copp, that tells me that he's got the vote of confidence from ownership, and that I wouldn't expect Kevin Cheveldayoff, his seat to be all that hot right now if he's being kind of tasked with making these big decisions.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I mean, I said it on this program a number of times. I certainly imagine that Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to be the guy running this hockey operations this summer, and will be the guy that has the opportunity to make changes. But beyond that, I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, which is unlikely, I mean, I think everything is on the table as far as the coaching staff. And it's something that we've talked about, for a long time here as well. A real, true, significant shakeup to the core, the leadership group, some of the key players, and really maybe facilitating the transfer of power, if you will, of the guys that are the real drivers of this club, that are the leaders, as opposed to what we've seen for a long time. I think all that's on the table if things don't end up with a miraculous run at the end of the season, getting into the into the playoffs.
Agreed. I mean, that would probably render today more of an appetizer than the main course, which would come this summer. But no doubt the Jets, would like to help themselves to a big helping of the playoffs. They got their work cut out from I think it was, I forget which player last night actually put a number on it. I think he said they have to win 14 or 15 of their last 19. And, that's probably pretty accurate. So the Jets can't afford too many off nights. And, I thought last night they certainly weren't at their best, but they did get the 2 points, and they'll quickly put that one in the rearview mirror. And now a real opportunity again tomorrow against the team that, at least on paper right now, they're chasing. We know that with games in hand and stuff, Vegas isn't necessarily the team. They have to pass a number of teams, Vegas being one of them. So a big game tomorrow, and we'll just have to wait and see what the Jets lineup looks like. We expect Mason Appleton will be in. Whether or not Andrew Copp and or Paul Stastny are in that lineup, I guess we're about 61 minutes or so away from finding out.
Yeah, I wonder what number Appleton's going to wear. His 22 got given to Austin Pugnansky, but Austin Pugnansky's back down with the Moose. Maybe he breaks out the 82 again from when he started. And when he started with. Hey, Mike, before we go, though, I mean, we've got a second. Doesn't seem to be much happening. Obviously, if something breaks, we'll move. But what did you think about the weekend for the Jets? The game on Friday, like coming off the infamous Bronx cheer comment, to go into the second period and to give up the first 15 shots and a 2-0 lead was it was something. And then of course they got right back into it. And then what a devastating way to lose a game. I mean, Brendan Dillon, obviously you don't mean to do that, but you just can't do that. And man, it burnt. And back to Cassidy's comments. I realize it was the PK, but Taylor Hall, of all players, just setting up shop in front of the net and banging in a rebound. I mean, that was the Achilles heel for the Winnipeg Jets in that game, amongst a number of things they didn't do particularly well against a very good team.
Yeah, and I think, again, that's the kind of game the Bruins, every game the Bruins play is kind of a playoff style game because they're built for that, right? And I think the dominance we saw in the second period, that's one of those games that I would think has to give some pause to thought, Kevin Cheveldayoff to think, geez, even if we were to sneak in, are we really, it's not worth mortgaging the future over here, because that's probably a sneak preview of what's in store for us, even if we were to sneak in as the 8th seed. And we know that would mean playing Colorado, and the Jets' track record against the Avalanche is atrocious. Certainly this season, they're going to see them 2 more times here down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, that second, I thought the Jets played a really decent first period and probably deserved to be up a goal or two. I mean, I think Andrew Copp had a wide open chance, and of course Nikolai Ehlers, perhaps one of the worst penalty shots we've ever seen. I'm not sure what that was. Just absolute slow motion. Nice.
What that was a good example of why he never gets thrown out in the shootout, I think, Mike.
Yeah. I love I think it was a Boston scribe who suggested that Nikolai Ehlers should be ticketed for loitering because he took so long to take a shot. That was a good line, but they have those chances, but then to come out in the second period like that and just, be absolutely overwhelmed by the Bruins, that was a troubling sign to say the least. But of course, they put that loss behind them and went in and got the job done, albeit barely last night. They almost blow the 5-2 lead. Connor Hellebuck has to make a couple huge saves in the final minute or so there to prevent that game from getting tied and going to overtime. I mean, I imagine, look, the players can say all they want that they're trying to block out, all the talk about the trade deadline. I have to think it has an impact. These guys, especially Andrew Copp and Paul Stastny, they're beloved in the room. They've been fixtures here. And, I wonder if once today passes, regardless of what happens, if the Jets will be able to maybe kind of put that behind and reset the mind and move forward. I mean, time will tell, but I got to think that it's weighing on them right now. To the Jets' credit, they're what now? I think 6-3-1, 7-3-1 over their last stretch here. So, look, they've played some pretty good hockey. They've got the points. They'd like more, of course, but there is a chance here over the next 10 days. Heading into Buffalo, sort of mid next week, to really go on a run, and that's what the Jets are going to need. That's what they've been unable to do. It's just a question now of who's going to be in the lineup to try and go on that run that they so desperately need. And it should be interesting to hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff today, because I suspect we'll not just be asking him about what he did or didn't do today, but I'm sure he's going to get some kind of long-term vision type questions. And I will be listening very closely to see, how he doesn't say a lot, I know, at the best of times, but I'll be curious to see if his tone or even his words have changed at all, if there's been a shift in either his confidence in this group or the path that they need to take going forward.
Interesting, Mike. Just before we go, Remis just put up on the screen that it looks like Arturi Lekkonen's going to the Avalanche for a second-round pick. Listen, I'm not sure what was coming back for Andrew Copp, but I mean, if they're trading a second for Lekkonen, I'm not sure whether there's a spot in the top of the Central Division for number 9.
Yeah, and Lekkonen's an interesting name. He's one I actually threw out the other day in my piece that I wrote about the Jets being buyers and sellers, along with Jake DeBrusk, another guy, another pending RFA, and Lekkonen, who's also an RFA. And I had speculated that he's the kind of player the Jets might be targeting, try and fill a Copp, hole, a guy that can play kind of up and down a bit in your lineup and do a bunch of things defensively and some offense. So that would be interesting because, not only would that take the Jets out of the running of getting Lekkonen, but as you say, might also be another twist in the Andrew Copp debate. I mean, I still think a team like Boston is probably the front runner for Copp. It's just a question of whether they meet the price the Jets have. But the risk in waiting, like if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff and you're waiting to see if you can drive that price up, the risk, of course, is that, near the buzzer, teams move on. They say, well, fine, we're not going to sit around and wait for you to decide on this. We'll go get that. And then you try and circle back and this is now gone. And now you're left without a dance partner, right? So it's a game of chess for sure. And you just hope, I guess, as a GM that you're playing chess and not checkers or tiddlywinks with the other GMs out there.
Mitch mentioning the TSN guys are mentioning that the Rangers are interested in Andrew Copp, and I see that they've just acquired Justin Braun for some backup on the blue line. Now, Mike, I know you've got lots to do. Thanks so much. Fill us in on what you've got coming up this week in the Free Press. I know it'll be all about today, but there is a special return of a very popular individual coming to town on Friday. I'm sure you're going to be touching on as well.
Yeah, it's a week of returns. We get the Mason Appleton return tomorrow. But yeah, Patrick Laine, in Columbus for that game when the Jets were down there, and he was injured, of course, and I think it was in November. But the return to Winnipeg was always going to be the big story, and that's something I'm very much looking forward to. And we'll have a chance, of course, to chat with Mr. Laine later in the week, and I'll have a column on that. And looking forward to kind of getting his perspective on his season started off really slow, but he's picked it up as of late. And Luc Dubois, they're kind of neck and neck, if you will, for goals and points. I do suspect that's a trade that both teams are pretty happy with right now. We also get the Jack Roslovic return as well, who I see has been on the TSN trade bait list today, working his way up the list. So I say we'll get Jack Roslovic's return, but I guess it's possible we won't if something were to happen. Although I did note, Huss, this morning at Columbus practice, Roslovic was the number one center, and on his right side was Pat. So maybe we'll get them playing together on Friday. Should be an interesting atmosphere in the rink for sure.
Hey, what do you think the reception's going to be like for Laine on Friday night? I think it's going to be. Sorry, go ahead. What do you think first before I say?
Oh, I think he'll get a hero's welcome.
Big time. Like, I think it will be. I think it'll be unlike anything that we've seen maybe in 2.0 of a traded player coming back. I mean, there's been some nice, welcomes, but I think it's going to be different with Patrick Laine on Friday night.
It might be very much like what happened when Teemu Selanne came back here, and remember that was great. The cheers, and then it turned to boos when he didn't have the puck. And I don't know that we'll get the booing when Laine doesn't have the puck, but I don't think there's anybody. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that blame Laine for what happened here. I think, though, the majority of fans look at Patrick Laine and see a guy that gave his all and helped put this city, made this city a pretty exciting market when it comes to the NHL, and his personality and all the things he did on the ice. I expect a hero's welcome. I'd be stunned and frankly a little disgusted if there's some boos for Patrick Laine.
I mean, well, listen, I mean, you can't in any large gathering, in 2022. You can never have a 100% consensus,
Right.
but I'm with you. I think it'll be as close to a welcome back, open arms, and I think it'll be a special night. I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
it, but a couple very big games for this hockey team if they want to be in the mix before then. Mike, thanks so much for doing this.
You betcha. We'll see what the next hour brings.
You got it. Take care. There's
All
Mike
right.
McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. All right, we're going to bring in Sean Reynolds coming up in just 2 seconds. I do want to, of course, thank our great friends over at Little Brown Jug for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Little Brown Jug down on William Avenue. Check out that 1919 if you haven't had it beforehand. And if you head down to Little Brown Jug on William, you can try all 7 beers that they're producing right now. If you're popping by the local beer store, grab it at the winter variety pack if you'd like, the Brute IPA and more. And of course, they do citywide delivery Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. You can order online at littlebrownjug.ca. Our friends at Boston Pizza are ready to go for a big weekend downtown. Tomorrow, Vegas, Thursday, Ottawa, Friday, Columbus. Before and after every game, City Place. Boston Pizza is a great place to be. And if you're not heading to the game, gather with your friends at your local BP or order online at bostonpizza.com. And hey, our friends at Knott Auto Corp have something really cool that they put together. You can check out their Twitter feed or their Facebook. But Knott Auto Corp is inviting you to experience a Tesla for an extended period of time, receive a comprehensive orientation. Book easily online now. The experience is free if you buy the Tesla. It's the Tesla experience right now. You can find out more over at knott.ca or pop down and see them at Waverly and McGillivray. All right, continuing with some of our friends that are just sort of waiting for something to happen downtown. Fresh off another riveting episode of Kenny and Rennie post-game last night. Sean Reynolds, looking like $1 million US tax-free, I might say, joining us now. No headband today, ready for prime time. What's up, Ren?
This is the professional version of me here. I can't bring that. That's like my secret alter ego. I can't bring that into this workspace. It's a no headband zone in here.
Let's get right to it. I mean, we won't spend too much time on the games, but right after you guys were on the air last night, as we sort of got word, I believe Jay Bell was the first one that sort of spoke. Yeah. That was Mason Appleton coming back to the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, for a 4th round pick, I mean, I'd do that all day. I mean, I think that's an important player that has a future here in Winnipeg. A 4th round pick, very reasonable. But when you heard that, what did you think about Andrew Copp? What did that tell you about Andrew Copp's situation, and where are you at right now, and what are you hearing on Copp?
Well, I think that means that he's gone. That's what I thought as soon as I heard that. That's a replacement on that very line that I think that, Copp was going to end up on that 3rd line as the Jets made this push down the stretch. So you get a guy who, has played on that line before, has succeeded on that line. I agree with you. Absolutely great price for him. There's very little risk in making that move. And I know that, Kevin Cheveldayoff leading into the trade deadline here had said that he's trying to be both a buyer and a seller. Said he was looking for that middle 6 type of player. Well, that's exactly what the Winnipeg Jets see Mason Appleton as. So I think that clears the deck for them to make that move. I think that's going to happen. I don't think it would be insanely out of this world if they kept those 2 players, but I do think right now, if we could see behind the scenes right now, Kevin Cheveldayoff is furiously working phones to try and close a deal to send Andrew Copp out of town.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I guess it was Frank. I get mixed up with all the insiders at this time. We're looking at so much stuff, but Franks and Dregs have both been on this, and it said that the Jets had tabled 2 second rounders, and to be honest, I thought that was maybe the high end of what they could expect for a return for Andrew Copp. Sounds like they're pushing for a 1st rounder. The interesting thing from my perspective, Sean, is who's got a 1st rounder to give right now of these teams that are supposedly interested? We saw Lindholm go to Boston. We know Colorado got forced into ditching their 1st rounder at the beginning of the season because they didn't have a goalie and needed to get Darcy Kemper. I guess the Rangers are a team that's mentioned right now, but I mean, listen, assuming that Copp will be traded, any thoughts on where he'll go? And I guess the bottom line is what sort of a return can the Winnipeg Jets expect for a very important player?
Well, I mean, I think right now they're trying to push it right till the very end. The thing that you worry about, I think, if you're a Jets fan, is that they don't push it to the point that they push it too far, and then all the suitors walk away from the table. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche were a team that was mentioned as having interest. To me, them getting Arturi Lehkonen, who's a phenomenal player for them to pick up, a guy who's really, really great in the playoffs, plays like a really gritty style of game. I think plays a style that maybe that's what they would have been looking for out of Andrew Copp. Means that they're out of the bidding war for that. So I do think that I mean, put it this way: if the asking price right now is 2 second rounders, I think if the Jets have interest in a player like Jake DeBrusk, which I'm pretty sure that they do. That's what they're swinging for. That's the trade that they want to make, is some way of bringing him in and sending Andrew Copp out, and then you get a player who you've got a couple more years of team control with. But I mean, if the 2 second rounders are what's been tabled so far, clearly people are balking at the prices that the Winnipeg Jets are asking. So I don't know if it's the Jets holding the line right until the very end, trying to see if they can get anyone else to blink. Who knows? Maybe in the end, and I guess we'll get that if they end up settling for 2 second rounders, then clearly they tried to hold out for more and it didn't work. But I think you touched on it. The New York Rangers are a team that's still a possibility. Look like they would be interested in a player like Andrew Copp. Boston Bruins are a team. I think you saw that the other day. You see them come in. They are stocked on the wings. They've added 2 defensemen now, so they look to be stocked on defense. I think they're okay with their goaltending. But with Patrice Bergeron down out of the lineup the other night, they were very, very thin down the middle. So I don't think they want to have that problem when they go into the playoffs. So Andrew Copp is a guy that they looked like they would be very much interested in having. But again, we'll see who can who blinks first heading down this last little bit of time.
Well, and you know what? You made a great point last night. And by the way, I mean, also they're still dealing with the loss of David Krejci in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was such a mainstay in that top 6. And, he hadn't really had anyone, Charlie Coyle, but that's come in and been that guy. But, I thought you made a great point last night on K&R in that, you can't ignore the contract statuses of these players. And with the extension, the 2-year extension to Jake DeBrusk this morning, many people suggesting that makes him more tradable. I mean, you've got some cost certainty. You know exactly what you're doing. I'm sort of with you. I mean, I don't think you're getting Jake DeBrusk with 2 years left on his deal at $4 million in a straight up deal for Andrew Copp. I mean, if anything, this might be a back and forth between Cheveldayoff and Boston as to what the Jets have to put in if that is the guy that they have their eyes set on.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could mitigate some of that risk if you were to pull off a sign and trade type of deal. If you signed an Andrew Copp extension and then sent him, and then Boston knew they were going to have him going forward. But I still think that Jake DeBrusk is a player that has a higher expected ceiling than Andrew Copp. He's younger than Andrew Copp. His pedigree, he's a first-round pick versus a fourth-round pick, I believe Andrew Copp was. So I do think that it would have to be Andrew Copp and something else if that was going to happen, especially if it was. I mean, if there's no extension in place, then it's going to have to be a lot more, because basically all the Jets are doing is downloading the risk they have of losing that player for nothing onto the Boston Bruins, where why would the Don Sweeney have gone out and got cost assurance and locked a player up for 2 more years just to take the advantage of having that and send it away to another team? So it's that situation is one that if the Jets are working on that, maybe that's what's happening behind the scenes here right now. It would take, I think it would take Andrew Copp plus, but I think it would also take Andrew Copp getting locked down to a deal in order for that to happen.
Well, and you know what? I mean, and that could very well be happening right now as we speak, because this is exactly what Boston did with Anaheim. I mean, they worked on Lindholm. They wanted to sign him. They agreed on the framework of the deal, and then went ahead and inked him to an 8-year, $6.5 million extension. But I don't think they were going to do that unless they had that in the hand. So maybe Kurt Overhart is bending the Bruins over as we speak and squeezing them for all of his life. Hey, you know what? We haven't spent a ton of time talking about Nathan Smith, but I mean, he had a really exciting year this year. He was a Hobey Baker finalist. I think most people, thought that the Jets would be looking to sign him at the end of the season. I guess it's quite clear that he didn't have a lot of interest in coming to Winnipeg by what we saw happen earlier today. Interesting deal. Sure, you get a 4th rounder, you get something for nothing. And this was a player that you would have lost for nothing in the summer. But also Brian Little's contract going to the Arizona Coyotes. What was your reaction to that one, Ren?
Well, I think, Bill Guerin was just on talking to one of the stations and had said about their, and remind me of his name, the prospect that they had who decided he didn't want to stay with Minnesota. And they moved
Jake
him on.
McBain, Andrew McBain's son.
Exactly. Jake McBain, and I think he went to Arizona as well. So and the way that the Wild had handled that is you don't want to be a Minnesota Wild anymore. See you later. I mean, that makes the decision easy, is how Bill Guerin put it. So I think it would be the same thing for Kevin Cheveldayoff. If you don't want to be a Winnipeg Jet, here's the door. Let's move you along, right? And the ability to move Brian Little's contract and then open up some, potential, financial freedom for the Jets going forward that they haven't had while carrying Andrew Copp in LTIR is clearly important. The one thing that I find is fascinating about watching Kevin Cheveldayoff deal at this time of year is he's playing a different game than everyone. For a lot of teams, it's just very simply, are we buyers? Let's bring some guys in to try and compete for the Stanley Cup. Are we sellers? Okay, well, then let's get rid of our guys and move on. Because the Winnipeg Jets can't really draw a lot of players, maybe I shouldn't say can't, but don't draw a lot of players in free agency, they kind of have to strike in different ways. So if you take a look at guys like, Stastny a couple of years ago and Nate Schmidt, Brendan Dillon in the offseason, they go get those guys using the cap space that they have for teams that are in cap crunches. They kind of force deals and force players into their system and doing it in that way. So when it's kind of like strike while the iron's hot kind of thing, there's moves and people wanting to move things. So the Jets aren't necessarily looking at, buying and building up for a run. They're looking at creating at this as a time where lots of assets are moving. So let's get moving a lot of the assets that we either need to move out or that we can't use or solve some of the problems that we have. That Brian Little contract was a problem that they dealt with the last couple of years. Nathan Smith wasn't going to stay. So this was the perfect time to move him. I just find it interesting that what we see from the Jets here, and I think, again, what we're seeing behind the scenes with Andrew Copp is they are trying to get a guy right now that they won't have to head out on the market and look for in free agency when it's really hard to get players in free agency in Winnipeg. So it's a different game the Winnipeg Jets are playing right now. But Kevin Cheveldayoff the Appleton deal, I think, is really smart to go back to that. Taking care of a lot of that business right now that is not necessarily meant to be just a run to the playoffs, but long term while assets are moving around the league. I think it's a smart move by Kevin Cheveldayoff.
Well, and one of the other things that we've talked about for, last couple months, on our show, you guys have certainly kicked it around on KNR, is the glut of veteran defensemen signed with term here in Winnipeg. And I think everyone realizes with these younger players that at some point something's got to give. And I think the most logical time is probably in the offseason to move one of those players. But I will say, Sean, that, with some of the prices that we've seen for defensemen go at this market, I have a feeling that maybe it's given Cheveldayoff pause to possibly consider moving up that plan to open up a spot for a younger defenseman because of what's on the market. Whether you can get that for a guy with the term that some of the Winnipeg Jets defensemen have, another story.
Yeah, I just think the lens that everything should be viewed here in Winnipeg is that I don't think Kevin Cheveldayoff has given up on the idea of the Winnipeg Jets making the playoffs. Now, the numbers suggest he should. You take a look at, I think it's Cap Friendly, has them listed at about 5%. And it makes sense if you take a look at a team like Dallas down the stretch. They don't have the most difficult schedule down the stretch here. They've got 2 games in hand. They've got 3 points. But if you're the Jets and you're looking at the path to get to the playoffs, you've needed to jump over a number of teams, the San Jose Sharks, the Anaheim Ducks, the Vancouver Canucks. They've done that so far. So they've been making their way closer and closer to that. And now all of a sudden they've got the Vegas Golden Knights coming into town here. They've got a game in hand. They only trade them by 4 points. Well, if they beat them, now they're only 2 points back with a game in hand. That said, Vegas is playing Minnesota. Who knows if Minnesota beats them and then Vegas has to come in and play on back-to-back nights against 2 tough teams and loses 2 games in a row. Suddenly, it's looking like the Jets are going to not only be able to hop that over them, but push them back into the rearview mirror a little bit. Now it's just a showdown between you and the Dallas Stars, right? And so I do think that every deal that's made here, you have to look at it from the perspective that Kevin Cheveldayoff is trying to end this day with a roster that he feels is just as capable as the one he started the day with. I don't necessarily think he's running out to try and improve. move. He's not a traditional buyer in the sense that he's trying to bolster his roster, but I do think he's trying to give this roster, its chance to make the playoffs. And in doing that is trying to make sure that anyone he sends out, he somewhat replaces. So Mason Appleton is supposed to do that somewhat with Andrew Copp. If he can turn Andrew Copp into a similar player as Andrew Copp with term, that would be an unbelievable move in my mind if he was able to pull that off. But that said, I think everything needs to be looked at as though Kevin Cheveldayoff is trying to keep this team where it is right now and give it an opportunity to prove something to him down the stretch.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm not sure if you saw Remis pull that up, but just in the last couple minutes, Darren Dragon reporting that the Jets have acquired Zach Sanford from the Ottawa Senators for a 5th round pick. Now, what's interesting with this, Rennie, is, he had a couple pretty solid seasons as a depth player for St. Louis.
Yeah.
He had 16 goals and 30 points in 1920 in 58 games, 10 goals and 16 points in 52. This year, he was 9-8 for 17 and 62. So, it's a depth player. But what I find interesting about this is that he's making $2 million and he's a UFA at the end of this season. So to your point, this is, I guess maybe they think that he's a guy that they can keep around in the future. But as of right now, from what we know, there's no guarantee that happens. And admittedly, 5th round picks are not, the most valuable asset. That is an interesting acquisition for Winnipeg, trying to, fill out some of that bottom 6, especially with the assumed pending departure of Andrew Copp.
Just thinking out loud here with this falling in our laps while we're doing this, to me, what I take from that is they're opening up the possibility that they end up moving Andrew Copp simply for picks and for futures, right? So to the point of what we were just talking about, Kevin Cheveldayoff wants this team to be as capable at the end of the day as it was at the start of the day. If you're not going to be able to turn Andrew Copp into the same player coming back with term, which was always going to be a massive, huge ask, then what you're trying to do is pull enough of the pieces together and get good enough on the back end that if you do lose Andrew Copp in your bottom 6, you're able to replace that. So I take a look at a guy like Mason Appleton coming in, now Sanford coming in. Those are 2 players who are capable players, can be used in the bottom 6 and can round out your roster if Andrew Copp ends up moving along. To me, that's just another signal that Andrew Copp is on his way out the door, maybe for a little bit less than the Jets were some would say pie in the sky, trying to get in return for him.
Hey, Reddy, before we go, I know we've talked a lot about trades and we'll see what happens in the next half hour past 2, but just quickly, what did you think about the game last night? And have we seen the last of Christian Vesalainen with the club this season, barring a complete, a run of injuries, especially with the 2 new guys that have just been picked up?
Well, the 2 new guys tell me that, yeah, we have seen the last of him. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. Christian Vesalainen was given far more opportunity to stick in the NHL than I think, anything but like maybe the top 5% of prospects. He was given every opportunity to succeed. Hasn't really worked out. His confidence can't be very good. I think he needs some time in the A, and he needs a lot of time in the A. This isn't something that you fix and send him down for 2 weeks and turn things around. They need to get him into a rhythm of a hockey player who thinks that he's contributing and doing really well. So I think he's down as far as that. As for the game last night, I've said this time and time again, these are the kind of games that I just hate that the Winnipeg Jets play, because they don't play the right way. They skill their way out of a game. And listen, if you were a team that only did that every once in a while, skilled your way out of a game after you laid an egg, and then moved on and started playing hockey the right way, if that was the kind of outlier, it wouldn't be a problem. My take is that the Winnipeg Jets have these kind of games, and then that becomes who they are. And down this stretch where they're going to be playing against a bunch of teams below the playoff line, if they don't turn that around and start playing, here's what we're playing another really bad team. Oh, they don't look like they're interested in playing defense tonight. Let's not play defense either, because my guess is we can beat them 7-5, right? That's the mindset that I find that the Winnipeg Jets just too easily fall into. And then they get locked into that, and that becomes their identity. That becomes who they are. So those are trap games, but I think, there's teams that fall into trap games, and then the Winnipeg Jets fall into that trap and they never want to leave it. Right. So what I need to see from the Winnipeg Jets in the next game is to get rid of that, get back to playing the right style of hockey, getting back to playing defensively, because that game that they played the other day, last night against the Chicago Blackhawks, was the Chicago Blackhawks team that clearly doesn't care much about what happens going forward. Clearly weren't interested in playing a hard-nosed style of game. That was the furthest thing you could find from a playoff game at this time of year, I would think, especially involving a team that needs to win and needs to get to a playoff style. Jets need to put that one behind them and start playing a better brand of hockey, because if they play like that going forward, they're making the playoffs. If they did, they would not be ready for it playing that style of hockey, and I really don't think they'd get there playing that style of hockey.
Sean Reynolds of Sportsnet and Kenny and Rennie's with us on WST. Hey, before we go, we've got a great crew in here, as often happens. Now it's our second trade deadline show. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that red subscribe button for our channel. And you definitely should be doing it for Sean and Ken as well over at Kenny and Rennie. And if you have been under a rock or something, the guys go at it every night after Winnipeg Jets hockey. And now, man, you and Ken have a pretty busy lineup for this week, with 3 more home games beginning tomorrow night against Vegas. Fill people in on the show and where they can find you guys, Sean.
Yeah, just check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Just search Kenny and Rennie on YouTube. You'll find us there. And yeah, if you're there, click subscribe. Come check us out. We have a lot of the same conversations that Huss does here. And Huss, every once in a while, will step in when I'm not there. This is my camera guy who's got our wake up shirt. We've got our own merch and everything. So yeah, come check us out. We should be fitting in a long form show on Thursday as well. So a really busy week. We have 4 more shows for the weekend. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, you know what? You let us know who's on Thursday, and we'll be sure to send the crew over, and we'll get out right at 3:00 so they can join you guys at the beginning of the program. Sean, thanks so much. I know it's a busy day. Hey, just quickly, I imagine you're going to be busy quite a bit later on today. We'll see on Sportsnet and whatnot.
Yeah, Tim and friends will be on there. We'll have some reports and stuff like that for Sportsnet. So go check that out if you want a summary of the trade deadline. I think some interesting stuff is about to go down here. So let's get at it. Appreciate
it, dude. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
There it is. Sean Reynolds, Kenny and Rennie on YouTube, and of course, SN Sean Reynolds at Sportsnet. Okay. I think we're going to have maybe Billick pop in a couple minutes. We do have the clip, I believe, from Craig Button, which I think everyone's quite interested to see. We'll get Remo in here in just a second, but I do want to thank our friends over at Manitoba Battery for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. I got to tell you, I've had so much feedback from WST listeners that have popped in to Manitoba Battery, and I've just been so impressed with the pricing, the service, and the fact that they literally have batteries for everything. I mean, right now, if you do need a battery for your vehicle, basically $100 for most makes and models with core exchange, and they'll deliver it to you anywhere in town for $115 same day if you order it by 1:30 p.m. If you're getting out on the ice for a little bit of ice fishing before it's all gone, they've got the flasher batteries to keep you catching fish all winter. And of course, come boat season, ATV season, whatever you need a battery for, Manitoba Battery, 1026 Logan, 783-8787, and online at manitobabattery.com. Our friends over at Royal Sports, well, listen, they've always been the best place to go for it, Jets gear and licensed merchandise. I think there's a good chance we might have a few new jerseys to pick up, maybe a few Appletons getting redone. We'll find out what's happening with Mason's number when he plays tomorrow for the Jets against the Vegas Golden Knights. But they are the undisputed heavyweight champs of all things hockey and licensed merchandise, massive hockey department, snowboarding, fitness, and whether you're looking for Bomber Grey Cup merch, NFL, CFL, MLB, NBA, and of course, thousands of exclusive Winnipeg Jets pieces. They've got it all down at 750 Pembina Highway. And make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Pembina for the latest merchandise drops and sales. And our friends at Princess Auto, holy smokes, these, I'll get Remis in just a second here, but the Princess Auto curling reports of the past week have made the free agent frenzy look pedestrian. And another huge drop today in women's curling. Caitlin Laws, the longtime third Olympic gold medalist with Jennifer Jones, is now skipping her own team, and she's essentially taken over half of the Tracy Fleury rink with Selena Govin playing in third. Jocelyn Peterman will be playing second, and Barb McClish will be the lead. So another top team in Canada, in Manitoba. And of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of everything going on in curling. Carrie and the girls 2-2 at the World Championships after a tough loss last night to Switzerland. And Princess Auto, in addition to being such a great sponsor of curling and the Bombers, is the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. 2 local locations, and you can shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. All right, lots going on. Let's get Michael Remis back in here. And Remo, great chats with Mike and with Ren. Do you have any breaking news for us to get us in as we continue with the program?
Yeah, I'm making sure I'm unmuted to announce all these trades. Although we got a YouTube comment the other day, Huss, that they like when I'm muted. Someone likes when I'm muted. It's the best part of the show. Then I get mad after. So
you need to understand the sarcasm better. Although, yeah, such an idiot.
We actually do have a couple trades during the last conversations. I'll go through these. The Capitals acquire center Johan Larsson from the Coyotes for a 2023 third-round pick. Thank you. We'll take the TSN trade tracker. This was a big one. Colorado acquired Andrew Cogliano for a 2024 fifth-round pick from the Sharks. So if you thought Colorado was a possible destination for Copp, I would say the door is closed there now that they've got Cogliano and Arturi Lehkonen. We do have, Huss, this is actually a big one. Nick Leddy going to St. Louis, along with Luke Witkowski from Detroit, Jake Wallman, Oscar Sundqvist, and the 2023 second-round pick going to Detroit. So Detroit is coming here, Huss.
April 6th, it's
yes,
Connor Hellebuck fishing bobblehead night.
For the Hellebuck fishing a bobblehead day. So we all know Sundqvist, he hit Andrew Copp last Saturday, gave him a concussion, didn't give him a concussion, but he had to leave the game and then miss. Put his name on a cake, public enemy number 1. He needs to get booed out of the building. Oscar Sundqvist, come on. I feel like Montreal fans have got it up on the Jets fans when it comes to hating on players when it comes to Mark Scheifele. So I say give him a couple polite booing.
The weird thing is that there's a very good chance that the victim in all of this, Andrew Copp, will be on another team by the time that the Red Wings come in.
Chris Weidman wasn't on Montreal when Mark Scheifele hit Jake Evans and they fought. So I think someone's got to step up and send a message, even if it's different players, different teams. A message needs to be sent.
That's an interesting deal, though, for St. Louis. And I mean, Sundqvist was playing in the bottom 6. And we've talked a lot about St. Louis and just how deep they were, 1-12. But obviously felt that they needed a little bit of help on the blue line. And Nick Leddy's a guy, between his time on the island and with Detroit, has been a pretty productive defenseman. So he and Witkowski go to St. Louis. And Jake Wallman, Oscar Sundqvist, and a second-round pick go to Steve Yzerman's Detroit Red Wings. One other deal, and this is an interesting one. And I anytime we talk about these players back in the 2015 draft with the Boston Bruins, everyone here in Winnipeg and probably Ottawa and New York Islanders have a good laugh because, of course, they famously picked at 13, 14, and 15 and somehow passed on Shabbat, Connor, and Barzal with those 3 picks. But one of the 3 picks that were used, Zach Senyshyn, is now a member of the Ottawa Senators. He and a 5th rounder go from Boston to the Sens in exchange for defenseman Josh Brown and a 2022 7th round selection.
Yeah, those picks are always memorable. And so yeah, Zach Senyshyn didn't work out. And I remember at the time people being baffled by those picks. They did sign Jake DeBrusk to the extension, but he still wants to get traded. So I don't know what Ottawa's doing here. I don't know. I don't know why they acquired Travis Hamonic. They did sign former Jet Anton Forsberg in goal today.
Yeah.
He was here very briefly. He's played well with Ottawa. So I don't know. Ottawa's interesting. We'll see.
Former Jet Anton Forsberg. The Forsberg era. What a wild time that was last year. I don't think he was wearing, whose mask was he wearing when he came here? Was it Edmonton's?
I don't remember. It
He
was,
never even got a chance to get
didn't-
Jets equipment, I don't think.
Like he didn't play in a game. I think he practiced. We are seeing some other tweets. Someone says I shouldn't use TSN, their tracker. We're on their
I'm fine
tracker.
with that.
I mean, look, we know who has the #1 trade show in Canada, and I'm not gonna go away from it. I see some other stuff going on in chat. No fake rumors in chat, guys. I'm gonna have to throw some people over the top rope.
Yeah. Do not do that. That's a disaster for us because we sort of lean on it. Hey, Emily Kaplan reporting.
Yeah.
I'm using the ESPN trade tracker right now. Figure that keeps me a bit better. Anyways, Ducks are shopping offers on Rickard Rakell right now.
Yeah.
Can report Boston and Vegas are in advanced talks. Believe the Rangers were involved at one point. Not sure if they are still in it. But the fact of the matter is we are 18 minutes away from the deadline, Remo, and have not still heard anything on Andrew Copp being traded from the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, this is the official countdown timer. There we go. 16:48, 47. I'm gonna ask for every show. I saw a Daily Face-Off had like a countdown timer. They got the insider cam. I don't know. We got this Google. I just Googled a quick countdown timer. So yeah, they're counting. Chevy seems to always go down to the wire. I remember last year. I think it was right around 2. We're like, okay, the Jets are gonna do something, and we're all waiting to hear what it was, and it was Jordy Ben. So I do have the bell that's going to come in, or the goal horn, if there is a Andrew Copp deal.
Okay, if there is a big trade.
It was the Zach Sanford trade too. You already talked about that with Rennie.
Yeah, we did. 5th rounder for Zach Sanford. Zach Sanford doesn't have a contract for next season, and maybe a bit of an audition for him to play with the Winnipeg Jets. Hopefully help him win some games down this stretch. Now, I'm not sure what the story with Billick is, but I do know there's a lot of people that are quite excited to hear what Craig Button had to say, Remis, if you've got that
I have
clip.
the Button clip. So at first, I only listened to the second part of the clip, and I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. He just said, he didn't roast him. He just said he needed better coaching. Okay, well, here's the whole clip, and then we can discuss after. I'll tweet out because everyone seems to be talking about this one. And Billick said he wasn't exactly sure. But,
okay.
So we'll wait and see. But one sec. Oh, sure, 1 second.
How do you explain, Craig Button, why things have not gone as expected and as we projected?
Coaching. It's been average coaching. Paul Maurice stepped down. He felt that there was more in the team. He felt he couldn't get out of it. Now Dave Lowry is coaching. Now, this isn't about so much the people as much as it is about the systems they employ. It's specifically defensively. They're terrible in front of their net. They get pushed out of position. They give up lots of inner slot shots, lots of plays off the cycle. They create a lot of their own problems. That's coaching. And I would look at this team and we look at them on paper. I think it's a really good team on paper. Are they any different than where the Calgary Flames were last year? Daryl Sutter comes in and he changes some significant things and says, this is the way we're going to play. I don't think that they understand what will give them success. And until that improves, the team won't improve. And either that's with the current coaching staff or Kevin Cheveldayoff has to look at a different coaching setup. But right now, that team, and I've watched them lots, the problems are they got average coaching. Mason Appleton isn't going to fix the way they play in their defensive zone. Mason Appleton isn't going to fix the mistakes that happen continuously throughout games. You heard Sarah talk about it earlier. She said through stretches of games, they're so good. And then they make the same mistakes time and time and time again. So when it's all the same players making all the same mistakes, there's only one place to look, and that's behind the bench. And you can sugarcoat it. You can look around. They got a coaching challenge. Just like Calgary did last year. We were talking the same way about the Calgary Flames last year. That's where the Winnipeg Jets find themselves. Yeah.
All right. Well, there is TSN's director scouting Craig Button with a bit of a scud to the coaching staff of the Winnipeg Jets. Hey, there's a lot of truth in what he said. I don't think there's much doubt about it. I mean, you can see the Jets get just completely discombobulated at times. And I mean, it is so frustrating because at times they can look like world beaters and other times like they have no idea what they're doing. And I mean, I love to say that I'm, learned in the game as many of the coaches, but I mean, your eyes tell you a certain story. And I mean, like Remo, I mean, the game on Sunday, and this is one of those things where sometimes I'll say, yeah, well, maybe the setup is one thing, but also the way that the players handle it, who've been in the system for a long time. The puck management has just been atrocious at times. And on Sunday, I mean, it was, that's a big reason why Connor Hellebuck's had the opportunity to win a Vezina and be the goaltender that he's turned out to be, because of what the Jets have been giving up, and at times just how poor, just the simple things have been for the Winnipeg Jets. But that reminded me a lot of Button talking about Paul Maurice, and I want to say 2016, 2017, when things weren't going well, and then things did turn around into the 2017-18 season with that nice run to the conference finals. But there's no doubt that there is a lot of questions being asked about the future of the Winnipeg Jets, and we can talk about Dave Lowry, who kind of came in mid-season, and I'm not sure if you can completely, being on that staff, completely change all the systems. But tell you what, if I'm Charlie Huddy right now, and maybe some of the assistants, I mean, they're probably in your least comfortable point in the 11 years that the Winnipeg Jets have been here, because there's not that sort of job security very often in pro sports. And if you have a disappointing season, they can do it. Oh, okay. We see Darren Dreger. All indications are Andrew Copp is headed to the New York Rangers. Rangers may also be working on Tyler Mott, Reem. So, it's certainly, I think there's a number of players in in the Copp discussions that, are sort of out because they don't have the capital, at least by draft picks. I do think, to be honest, the Jets would far rather take a more proven prospect or player that comes in under team control than maybe picks that they can use down the road, or as capital in other deals, maybe in the off season. But it certainly does sound like Andrew Copp going to the Rangers, because Boston, Colorado, some of the other teams that have been prominently mentioned in Andrew Copp have already spent a lot of their capital to acquire other players.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter, so let me just see if I can bring it up. So I agree. Colorado seemed out. Florida, they gave away all their stuff already. They did Boston, traded everything for Lindholm. So Darren Dreger sent Copp to the Rangers. We'll wait and see what they're getting back. This is a very busy deal day for the Jets. I think last year was extremely quiet, only getting Jordy Bent. This year, you had the Appleton acquisition. Zach Sanford, Beaulieu, Nathan Smith, Brian Little. A lot of names involved. I'm shocked at how busy this is, but I guess that's trade deadline day. So I'm trying to just stay up to date. As Billick says, trade is in place. Andrew Copp for the Rangers. I think Billick accidentally texted me.
The deal?
No, I think he sent me an accidental text. I don't think he was texting with a source about the deal.
Well,
but,
you know what? We've been waiting for a Billick bomb. I think Billick bomb, Billick and Jay Bell, heads up.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys. Jay Bell with the news of Mason Appleton's return last night. And Billick has been, putting out some feelers that, he's been working some sources, and we've got it. But I know Dave Pagnotta also saying that Andrew Copp is going to the Rangers. The deal is agreed upon. Yeah. We are just waiting for the return.
This is my timeline right now for everyone in chat. David Pagnotta, Copp going to the Rangers. Billick, Copp going to the Rangers. Cervelli, Copp going to the Rangers. First report trigger. There's Jay Bell. Jets on the verge of trading Copp to the Rangers. So we'll wait and see what it is. I'm very curious. I have no idea. I can't evaluate it, but not a surprise. The Jets' playoff hopes very slim. I guess they're trading a fifth for Sanford as some insurance. It does help the bottom. Maybe there's an outside chance, so they're not totally giving up. But if you can get a couple seconds here for Andrew Copp, go ahead.
Well, we'll see. Hey, there's not to say that there couldn't be a player coming back in. We're going to need to see what the return is, but it does sound like Andrew Copp's time in Winnipeg is done, and he'll be hooking up with this old buddy, Jacob Trouba in New York, and Kurt Overhart can go and see both of his clients with one stop to MSG when he sees them play. And speaking of the Rangers, the real insider, the number one insider in hockey, and I think we all know who that is right now, Reem. That's Kevin Weeks. Because Kevin Weeks' videos are the best when he does, hey, what's up, NHL fans? We've got some breaking news. The New York Rangers have traded Anthony Bitetto to the San Jose Sharks. Yeah. So Anthony Boteto apparently is going on. But my favorite thing about this trade deadline has been Kevin Weeks' videos. And now you've seen people have kind of been now photoshopping him on every sort of background everywhere because every one of his is different. But he's been having some fun and a great addition to the insider community here at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I mean, I've seen his face in the thumbnail, but I don't really watch the videos because he puts the trade.
Oh, you got to watch them
in the
They're
tweet.
Great.
The trade is in the tweet. Why do I need to watch the video?
You know what?
No,
Listen, you're just one of these ADD millennials. You know, you need to be able to.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I am right. Well, I know you well.
You know what? You know what? Why I do this too. Every time a team releases a jersey, Huss, they put out this elaborate video zooming in on parts of the jersey, showing the collar, showing the sleeves, showing the striping. I don't care. I just fast forward to the end. I just want to see the jersey. I don't need to see this elaborate video. Just post the damn jersey. Don't show me a video. So yeah, the Kevin Weeks trade. I'm like, he puts the trade in the text. Why do I need to watch a video?
Well, he doesn't put it all in it, and as I said, the videos are very, very endearing. I mean, you just feel like you're sort of hanging out with your buddy Weeksy, who's dropping some insider knowledge on you right now. So, anyways, I've gotten a great kick out of Kevin Weeks's videos so far, and the best thing that's happened to hockey Twitter is the photoshops of Kevin Weeks breaking news that are now everywhere. Have there been any good fake tweets? Has anyone gotten by any, like, is Mr. Booth up to his old tricks or anyone like that?
We do have a Mr. Booth update. Maddie Lang in chat wrote that. He wrote that Mr. Booth. Oh, yeah, here it is. Mr. Booth got suspended today on Twitter. So Maddie Lang wrote this in chat. He changed his name to Darren Dreger and started writing fake trades. And he got suspended. So Mr. Booth, he's busted a lot of people with fake trades. And yeah, he got taken down today. I guess TSN, and Darren Dreger said, okay, this guy's impersonating me. I don't know. I'm into Mr. Booth doing fake trades. I think it's funny, but obviously not everyone shares that take.
No, for sure. I'm sure the insiders don't, but it is always funny to see people that's why the blue check marks are there, folks. I mean, it's sort of on you. I know there was an account yesterday, the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it's the E and the A were swapped, and they put out a very professional looking Mark Giordano trade that it was like Mark Giordano for Dermott and a fifth, and like Zeiss got and a bunch of other guys did, and then they're like, oh man, that's on me. They really beat themselves up after that. They probably felt after retweeting that tweet like you do after like the fourth mute of a tough show, then you need to take a lap afterward. That was Zeiss and the gang.
I should start videoing myself like doing a lap around my block after a mute. should have some kind of punishments here. We are still waiting on this. The Andrew Copp. See someone tweeting like, are we cheering for the Rangers now in the playoffs? Is that our East team? They got Trouba and Copp. Like, are you jumping on there?
Well, you know what? I've never really liked the Rangers very much, but they're actually a pretty likable team. I mean, Panarin's a wizard. Chris Kreider's an absolute horse. I think he's a great player. I mean, I don't hate, like, I'm not one of these haters of Jacob Trouba. I mean, listen, the way it all went down was a little lame, but I mean, I'm over that, and I think the Jets got a pretty nice return in the deal, considering what he and his agent sort of forced the Jets into the corner to do. I think they made the best of it. And I'll tell you what, I really do hope for the best for Andrew Copp. I mean, he is a guy that, it's interesting. I remember Copp coming here. What was it, 24? I guess it was 2015, Reem. And we weren't sure whether he was going to play in that final game of the season because the Jets were making a push to play in the playoffs for the first time. And of course, the way things worked out, the Jets ended up clinching in game 81. And a whole bunch of players got the night off, and Andrew Copp got to make his NHL debut in that final game of the regular season against the Calgary Flames. But it's funny, and if I'm not mistaken, Copp has never spent one day in the American Hockey League, did he? And that was quite different than most of the other players that come to the Winnipeg Jets. I just want to make sure. Oh, no, he did play 8 games with the Moose in 16-17. I'm not sure whether that was a recuperatory, maybe some sort of an injury thing, but essentially, played a full season in the National Hockey League before ever spending any time in the American League, and just did play those 8 games. But going to finish up with 467 games for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, that is a lot. I mean, if we go to team leaders, I mean, there's not a lot of guys that get to 500, and he was basically a mainstay from 2015 until today. So, that's a guy that's going to leave. I know the Rangers have already been here. I'm not sure whether he'll be back, and we'll see where he is next season. But I'll tell you what, for a guy that was a 4th-round pick in the 2013 entry draft, that was pretty damn good value by the Jets. Great scouting, and a guy that has really grown into a player. And certainly we'll wait to hear what the return on this deal is, but a guy that, definitely made the most of every opportunity here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Copp's stats of the all time. So I guess will they have a farewell video ready for Copp? I'm trying to think of great Copp
like play it at the airport as he's leaving, or?
Well, they traded Brian Little's contract today, and they could probably could
on
post
social media. Yeah. Yes, you're right.
You're
right.
It's the Jets, the official farewell video. They had one for Nate Beaulieu. The Little video got me. I was in tears showing some of his goals. He had this huge slap shot goal from the top of the circle against the Ducks in the playoffs in 2014, which was absolute elite slap shot. But Andrew Copp, the 4-goal game. Remember his candid comments. Notably Friday about the lawn chairs. That was a guy who knew he was getting traded. And even after, I'm talking about going to arbitration against the Jets. So I'm just a big Andrew Copp guy. Again, is a hard guy to replace. I mean, there were some games where he led the team in ice time. Now that could be a coaching issue, or that could just be showing how versatile he was. I mean, depending on special teams.
Well, how many penalties were in the game? I mean, because, the guy's playing a regular shift. He was playing on the power play. He was a mainstay on the penalty kill for a long time, and certainly liked the improvements to the penalty kill after he came over. And Rob Mahoney, I don't know if I'm reading this question right. 400-plus games because Maurice horrible evaluator of playing ability. Well, I mean, obviously, there's a number of people that are horrible. I mean, he's about to get, potentially 2 second-round picks. It was an expiring contract, so I'm not sure if I'm not down with that take. I really liked Andrew Copp. I thought he was a very important player for the Winnipeg Jets, but I totally understand why they're dealing him right now in the situation that they're in. And Remo, it'll be interesting to hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff later on today to speak about, what they were able to do, the return for Copp, but also at the same time, bringing Mason Appleton back on with an expiring contract, but as an RFA. And then, Zach Sanford, who, I guess gets somewhat of a chance to audition, if you will, for the Winnipeg Jets. Well, what is that?
I don't know what's going on here. I'm trying to figure out this. Kevin Weeks just posted a video announcing a Kotkaniemi contract. I guess it is. Oh, that's the timer. Has 2:00. This is the trade. This is the actual deadline. This is the deadline. This is it.
Hey, can you turn it off? Because that's super annoying.
Is that me? Oh, sorry. You can't hear that. Sorry. This is the timer that everyone's hearing.
I can hear it. I'm hearing it.
I had it muted on the stream, but yeah, 2:00. 2:00. Time's off. Okay, I'll close that. No one needs to hear that.
Okay, so let's just we'll kind of go freestyle here. And by the way, shout out to everyone with us. You see, I've got over 600 people in the chat room. If you are new here, welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. We're here every day. We started a bit early today. It's a big day for trade deadline, 1 p.m. Central to 3. It's always available in your podcast feed about 3:30. So go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe there. But do us a favor, hit that red subscribe button. It's always more fun if you're joining us on YouTube. We've got a great crew here daily in the chat room and, hitting everything when it comes to the sports world, but with our main focus on the Winnipeg Jets, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, our local teams, and everything that's going on right now. So I'm just taking a look over to the boys on our friends from our former network. 20 trades, 27 players, and 11 picks so far. The high was 2020 when there were 32 trades. And Remo, if I'm not mistaken, that was that crazy year. There were all those trades made, and that wasn't that like a week before the pandemic started, and then the season basically shut down.
2020.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I kind of blacked that year out of my mind, Huss. I don't remember a lot about that.
Well, I'm just saying if they got to the trade deadline, because you remember everything shut down, and then it was a couple months, and they ended up just picking it up and doing the playoffs in the off season. But there were all those big moves, and man, everyone knows that how that all ended up. So we've got some deals. Andrew Copp sounds like he's on the way. Still waiting for clarity on what the return is for the New York Rangers to the Winnipeg Jets. But the Jets did trade a 5th-round pick to the Sens for Zach Sanford, and they traded late last night a 4th-rounder to the Seattle Kraken to get the red-headed cheesehead Mason Appleton back in Winnipeg, where he played the majority of his career, with the exception of this year with the expansion Seattle Kraken. I imagine we'll hear from Mason later on today, or probably tomorrow morning after the morning skate. And you'd expect both of those players would be here ready to go for tomorrow, Reem. And certainly with Andrew Copp moving out, and what was he making, 3.5 or so? I mean, $900 for Appleton, $2 million for Sanford. They will also have the bodies to be able to send any players that they want to be on that Moose Clear Day roster down to the American Hockey League today.
Yeah, someone please don't post fake stuff in trade. We haven't seen the return on it, but Scott Billick just tweeted, actually, Huss, here it is. Sounds like Paul Stastny will remain in Winnipeg. So not exactly a breaking news, but I mean, we are past 2:00. His name, I haven't heard his name mentioned once. So we are awaiting the Andrew Copp. And as far as the Jets moves, I'm seeing a lot of stuff about Nathan Smith, and I just want to say my take again. I mean, people are like, well, why didn't he want to be in Winnipeg? I was like, well, everyone out here gets to choose their employer. You get to choose who you work for. If you're, a college player and you're, reaching your 4 years, wouldn't you also want to have full say on where you work? So you probably want to talk to other teams, see what they had, or didn't like the whatever reason. I mean, that's just the way the system is. And I think that's probably baked into, when you draft college players, they might go later because there is the possibility you may not sign them. So they got a 4th, they get rid of the little stuff. I think Brandon tweeted this early, and I fully agreed with him. He was like, where was it? I'll pull it up here. Brandon Ruicki, not trying to get the angst about Smith not wanting to sign. Jets have been good at retaining college picks in the past, but every team loses a guy. Minnie just lost McBain. There was Adam Fox, Jimmy Vesey as well. So I think
this is the first one.
So, I mean, they signed Hellebuck and Kyle Connor, who's 2nd star of the week, 39 goals. I don't.
It's rare. It's rare instances. I mean, there's not too many guys that go and do the 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you do 4 years, you're like, the top players are like, they want to get in there. They want to get the clock ticking on their contracts. And, this guy was a bit of a late bloomer. Jets, to their credit, made the pick. And but here's my take on all this, Reem, is that the Coyotes are now going to be the team to get U.S. NCAA players, because they're basically going from one college hockey rink to another. It's essentially just like switching schools, going to play for the Arizona Coyotes next year when they're playing in front of 4,800 people at ASU in Tempe or whatever. So sort of tongue in cheek on that. But bottom line is, for players like that, and I think Mike made a good point. I mean, if you have the opportunity to choose where you go, if you wait out to a particular a period of time, listen, if you're a center and you're looking at the guys that are up on the depth chart here, and then you look at Arizona, which has like 5 guys signed for next season, and you want to play in the National Hockey League, even if it is going to be in a bit of a joke situation, you'll be in the NHL, you'll be getting paid NHL money, you'll be establishing yourself as an NHL player. I mean, I think there was a lot of things conspiring, but I mean, if this was something that was happening every year, absolutely, I'd be concerned. But, like Brandon said, it's happened to a bunch of other teams. And, credit to the Jets for identifying the fact that this wasn't going to happen, making the most of it, and, being somewhat creative in a deal that both gets them a pick, as well as, they won't be dealing with the same sort of cap crunch that they were this year with the Brian Little LTIR money.
A couple trades trickling in here after the deadline. Elliot Friedman reporting Rickard Rakell from the Ducks to Pittsburgh. So that'll be some Florida.
Oh, wow.
I guess he'd go on the second line with Malkin and Carter. I think he would slot in. And then you have Crosby, Rest, Gensel. Phil Kessel did not get traded. There was some speculation there. I'm trying to see anything about Copp. I'm seeing a lot of people speculating about Copp, but I haven't seen anything official.
Yeah,
So,
nothing on the trade board. So we'll wait to see. I think this next half hour, 45 minutes, like up until about 3:00, we're gonna be beginning to hear, more deals that just okay. It's 5 minutes. Let's just get this done. I think the Tyler Mott deal to the Rangers is very similar. We're seeing that Mott is on his way from Vancouver to New York for a 4th-round pick. I'm sure they would have liked to have gotten more for Mott than a 4th-rounder, but clock's ticking. You take what you can get, and that's exactly what happened. So still waiting to hear on what the return is for Andrew Copp, as that is, of course, of the most interest to Winnipeg Jet fans here today.
Yeah, Mark A in chat says no love for Evan Rodriguez. I like Evan Rodriguez. I had him in fantasy, but I think he might be the odd man out there in terms of getting bumped down the lineup with Rickard Rakell. So we are waiting on this Copp deal. I'll bring up the trade tracker. Give me 1 sec. Flurry of deals coming in as we hit the 2:00 mark. The thing went off. We did have the timer.
Yeah, we did have that timer. I was wondering what the heck that thing was. I thought maybe you had a smoke alarm going off in your place or something like that.
No.
But that was the case. Let's see if the ESPN folks have an update on
here. Check. Yeah, we got Kessel for a prospect and a pick. That's what it has. Tyler Mott. So that's where, and Anthony Bitetto, to the Sharks from the Rangers. Those are
Tony B.
Tony B. Big fan of Tony B. I don't know how much he's played this year.
I don't think a ton, but the Hamburglar is on the move.
Oh yeah,
from Montreal to the New Jersey Devils. The Devils get Andrew Hammond. The Canadians get forward Nate Schnarr.
All right.
And Nick Merkley was actually the guy going the other way in the Bitetto deal.
Okay, and here's another one. The Oilers acquiring Derek Brassard from the Flyers. I guess so. They've got Kulak and Brassard now. I guess. I remember a couple years ago, Brassard was the big guy the year they acquired Paul Stastny. And, who got him? Pittsburgh got him. Or was it Vegas and Pittsburgh were conspiring to keep the Jets from getting him? Either way, he's on his way to Edmonton. This is an interesting Aaron Portzline reporting, hearing talk that Max Domi could be on the move. That's from 2 minutes ago. And LeBrun adds, hearing that Carolina made a late push for Max Domi at the deadline. Not sure if they got the deal done or under the wire. And I like to mention that one, Huss, because Seattle, who's been dealing everyone who they picked in the expansion, or not everyone, but Giordano, who else? Yarncrow, Appleton. They could have had Max Domi for nothing, and they picked Gavin Bayreuther. And I'm very curious what Max Domi is gonna fetch. The Seattle, I think they really bungled the expansion draft. Seattle, they had a bunch of players you never heard of. They didn't pick Price or Tarasenko. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing. They didn't make any trades, and now they're trading everyone. Now they're kind of rebuilding. Oh yeah, they signed Grubauer and it didn't work out early on, and they signed Eberle and Larson. So I don't know if they needed to do all that, but we will wait and see.
Well, you know what, and so the top 5 available, on many people's boards, the trade bait board. I'm just looking at the ESPN one. Was Jacob Chychrun. And I never thought Chychrun was going anywhere unless, apparently the package was asking for like 3 first-round picks and more. Very talented young defenseman signed for 3 more seasons at $4.6 million. That's a very, very attractive player for obvious reasons, but the cost was just so big. Marc-Andre Fleury from the Blackhawks, who, let's face it, didn't look great. Can you imagine if Kyle Connor had smoked his hand with that puck?
Man, there's a couple
They've
plays
got a conditional
actually.
first-round pick for Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah,
the Wild.
I'm actually surprised about that deal. I thought they were all in on Cam Talbot, and he was their guy. I mean, he's been pretty well, but I guess if you have a chance to get Marc-Andre Fleury, the reigning Vezina Trophy winner and, former Stanley Cup champion, Stanley Cup finalist, then I guess you do that, and he has been very good. And it's kind of sad how, Vegas is just struggling. He was Mr. Vegas, and I think it's pretty clear Vegas made the wrong pick going with Lehner instead of Fleury. Lehner's battling health issues like everyone seemingly on Vegas. There were a couple of notes from the Jets weekend we didn't even touch on because we've been touching on the trade stuff. Let me see.
I'm just looking at here in NHL Jets Nation putting this out. Andrew Copp is on Sportsnet and said, when I signed here in Winnipeg last year, I was expecting one more deep run in the playoffs, but plans always change. And I think that's the exact place that Kevin Cheveldayoff was in today. Did not want to trade Andrew Copp. The plan was never to trade Andrew Copp. And I don't know how many times I said at the beginning of the season, Reem, if we are here on trade deadline day talking about Andrew Copp being traded, then that means this season has been incredibly disappointing as opposed to what the expectations were. And unfortunately, that is exactly where we're at right now. I mean, no one saw this team being out of the playoff line come the deadline. But when you are in that play, you have to make decisions in the best interest of the team. And it sounds like Kevin Cheveldayoff has done exactly that when it comes to Andrew Copp, a very valuable member of this club for the last 7 seasons.
Yeah, I was a big Copp guy. Again, he played all 4 positions. He played all special teams. He was on some, the 2018 conference final team, the team the next year. Big fan of what he brought, on the ice. Very versatile, but off the ice, an honest player. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in Rangers sweater along with Jacob Trouba. So, if you're looking for a team to cheer for, you got a couple former Jets there. Chris Johnston says that Max Domi heading to Carolina under the 2 p.m. wire. And yeah, that Kotkaniemi contract, I'm getting the alert from the TSN app, or it was before. Oh no, it's the Score app. 8-year deal, $4.82 million AAV for Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I believe that was Kevin Weeks' first to report. See, he puts out these videos.
Love him.
The video is 6 seconds long. I can just read it. I don't need to watch the video for him to say what's in the tweet.
So much better. So, I mean, it's the whole reason why people like video now. I mean,
I guess that's why we're here doing this.
Exactly.
I shouldn't be dumping on video, but in terms of Twitter, I guess you get more engagement if you put it as a video as well. It pushes it in the algorithm.
I feel like I have been hanging out with Kevin Weeks for the last 24 hours.
It's more.
Just checking in with him. It's absolutely. To me, he is the new insider. He is the insider now. Kevin Weeks. When I want to go to I would way rather hear something broken by Kevin Weeks than anybody else because of the wonderful, personable way that Kevin drops these trades. Hey, quickly on Domi. 53 games this year, just 9 goals. Had 9 goals last year in 54 games. Just wasn't really, this has not ever turned into the guy, with the exception of that 28 goal season in 18-19 for the Habs, 72 points. It's sort of been south since then, 17-27 for 44, and then just these 2 9-goal seasons in Columbus. But it's interesting that he's going to Carolina, Reem, and that Carolina has been very, very quiet. I mean, that has been the one team that we have not heard very much from over the course of the last few days, while so many other teams in the East have really loaded up with some pretty aggressive moves.
I agree. Carolina has been, but I think their team is solid. They've kind of done all their stuff. I mean, they did the Kotkaniemi move in the offseason, although he hasn't had a huge impact with them. But I think they feel like they're solid. They're ready to go. They got the goaltending fixed up last year. So I like Carolina. I do see some comments in chat, and I want to address this as well. Someone's like, when you had an Evander Kane jersey and he got traded, people left, put tape on it or took the name off, bar off, switch it to Copp. What are people going to do with the Copp jerseys? And I saw another person say, well, I have to retire my Copp Heritage Classic jersey now. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm all for traded player jerseys. Who cares that they're traded? A jersey, a snapshot in time of when that player played on that team. I don't think it matters that he doesn't play on the Jets anymore. If you have a Copp jersey. He was a great player, or he was he was
Oh
a
yeah, the
very good
Copp would be
player,
fine.
very good
So many
contributor.
people just
Yeah.
couldn't stand Evander Kane.
No,
I mean,
I get Kane.
that was
Yeah.
the whole thing. And Winnipeggers are somewhat a little frugal and wouldn't mind switching up a thing to make it fresh and make
Mhm.
it look like it's new and not a recycled Kane jersey into a Copp.
No,
But
I
it was
get that.
perfect. Copp had the 4-letter name, so did Kane. I mean, it was just so easy to get a new name bar if you were able to do it.
No, I agree with changing Kane because, he's got all the off-ice stuff going on, and maybe you don't want to be associated with that. But as far as just any old traded player, like, who really care? Like, some people are very hung up on having a jersey of a player who actually currently plays on the team. My response to that is, who cares? I think it's better when they don't play. I only want traded player jerseys.
I get the most comments for my game worn Adam Party jersey. Now,
Yes.
okay, speaking of Adam Party, I think you know where I'm going with this. The one thing we have not spoken about from last night's game
Oh, yeah. We haven't talked about this
is
at all.
and I'm thinking about this in the history of Jets 2.0, the most ridiculous incident with the Jets on the road with fans is without a doubt the helmet party incident. I mean, that's all-time NHL legend. The glass going out, the guy taking his helmet off, the drunk lady pouring the beer on his head. I mean, that is an all-timer. But yesterday, this couple of the Jets fan dude and the Blackhawks fan girl that they'd shown a number of times beginning with the anthem. After the Jets scored, for him to cup a fart and to blow it into her face is, I mean, dude, I laughed for half an hour.
I mean, this is right up our alley. This is an insane
I need
move.
to know more. Like, is this a couple that's in a relationship that is just so strong? They've been together for a long time and this guy can get away with that? Or is this some sort of a prank? Like, I have so many questions about this, but man, the timing of it. And you know what's funny? As you keep showing it, they even showed it on the highlights last night. Like, if you watch SportsCenter, they kept it in. They didn't really talk about it, but they did keep it in. And it was, yeah, I'm just looking to, didn't say it, most epic clear ever. He's my hero. I'm still rolling on the floor.
Chat's
I
exploding.
did that too. I just, yeah, sign of love. Get this man on the show. All-time low. Because you remember doing that? No, I've never done that personally, especially on TV at the game. But
You've never done that to a friend? You've never not your
certainly
girlfriend.
not on a date.
You never done it on a date at a hockey game?
Although, you know what? It is funny. Not that we're going to take this to a very, very crass place, but I didn't know that there was such thing as a Dutch oven, like an actual Dutch oven.
And
I thought it was just an act that you do to another person. I didn't know that I saw somebody on Twitter going, "Oh, I was making all these little pastries in my Dutch oven." I'm like, "What? There's actually a Dutch oven?" Oh. Anyways, that's beside it. That event, if you have any information about that individual, get it to us here at Winnipeg Sports Talk. We need more detective work on exactly and how, like, can you imagine this, both of their phones afterward? I mean, the victim, the Hawks fan in this at a home game, being violated like that by the guy that she was with. Anyways, that we'll be talking about that one for ages, right up there with the helmet party incident. And ironically, both were in the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. I don't know what it is about that city or that building, but weird things happen when the Jets go to Chicago.
Someone, I think he might have outed himself on Reddit, but I'm going to, before I see stuff in chat about like trades, I'd like to confirm it first. And I've seen a lot of fake trades going on, but we're basically just waiting on Andrew Copp right now, but we had to get to some of the stuff from the weekend.
So
as well.
Drager, 6 seconds ago, still working on Copp to Rangers return for Winnipeg. Sounds like picks and a prospect. So there you go. Picks. I would imagine it's probably 2 second rounders. I mean, I think the Jets were hoping to hold out for a first rounder if they could get it. I never thought that would be there, especially with the picks that had already been spent. So maybe they ended up getting them to throw in another pick or a prospect at the end for a player that they liked.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see. So I wonder if it's a guy who can step in this year or next year with the Moose. We'll wait and see about that.
Ooh, apparently Dubas had a little shade for Kyle Davidson, the GM of the Blackhawks. This is from Scott Wheeler. Surprised Dubas's jab at rookie Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson re-flurry leaks isn't getting more play on this app. Came right out and said he's never had that happen like that and directed reporters to ask Davidson. Dubas has been low-key feisty. Here's another ad, and I love this ad for the Calgary Flames. Ryan Carpenter is going from the Blackhawks to the Flames in exchange for a 2024 fifth rounder. Like Carpenter, nice depth player, and Remis, to me, he seems like just a perfect Daryl Sutter guy. If Calgary does need spots in their bottom six, Carpenter's a guy that I think will fit in perfectly in that Sutter system.
Yeah, I'm really interested on what's happening with Calgary this year. And you heard Craig Button in the famous TSN clip from earlier today where he called out the coaching. I do wonder if the Jets could do a return, but full credit to Daryl Sutter. He seems to know the type of players they want, and I like what Calgary's done. They went out and got Tyler Toffoli like a month ago. So that was their big get, but then they've kind of bolstered it with who you said, Kelly Yarncroke, though I thought that was a lot.
Yarncroke and then Ryan Carpenter now right at the deadline.
So we are waiting.
Let's see, I'm just gonna run down free. So it's free. Calgary, Ryan Carpenter is the deadline hit. Yeah, Max Domi to Carolina for Aiden Hreschuk, who was taken 94th in the last draft. So again, that's just getting something for it. It'll be interesting to compare like the return of Max Domi compared to what Andrew Copp eventually gets.
So Ricard Raquel, I believe, is a second round pick and a player waiting to hear.
Interesting. Oh, and that second rounder that Colorado gave to Montreal for Lehkonen did include Montreal retaining 50% of that deal. So that's another thing that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about. And again, I don't have the numbers in front of me as to what the Jets even have the ability to do or where the Rangers cap is. But you certainly have to pay a premium if you want a team to be eating up some of that salary, even if it's just for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I agree. And salary cap very valuable. That's why we saw Arizona's cap space on the trade bait board, and we laughed at it. But they did use up that cap space in acquiring Brian Little's contract. Okay, so here is here's an update on the guy who farted into his hand and put it into the girlfriend's face after the Jets.
Cupcake, I think they called it.
Is that a cupcake? Is that what it's called?
That's what a number of people. Yeah, that's what a number of people have said it.
Anyways, he says, that's me and my lovely girlfriend, and I'm lucky as hell she puts up with my dumb ass. And he posted a picture of them together on Reddit. Here they are. One sec, I'll show you the picture of them, proving that this is in fact them at the Chicago game. There it is. That's them. That's the guy who did it. We got to get this guy's number, right?
Oh my God, that was he's right up there with the helmet party incident as one of the more noteworthy. But he certainly did go viral for. I'm not sure whether he had any idea of what had happened, but I bet his phone blew up pretty good afterwards, and I'm sure hers did as well. Hey, if you're just popping into Winnipeg Sports Talk and you haven't been here before, great to have you with us. And we've got a lot of new folks in here today. Do us a favor, hit that red subscribe button. We are here every day live from 1 o'clock till about 3 o'clock Central, Monday to Friday. And if you're normally working or you're just popping in, but you want to listen to the program on the podcast, it's usually uploaded by about 3:30, just in time for your drive home. So you can subscribe over at Apple Podcasts or at Spotify. And we greatly appreciate the support. And tell a friend. About the WST guys.
We'll get that guy's number. First question: what did you have for dinner?
Oh yeah, it was the old Taco Bell and a hockey game date. Jeez,
Yeah.
Lucky girl, Nicole J says. Yeah. No doubt. Anyways, that was something. I mean, I laughed so hard when we saw that last night. It's just so ridiculous. But hey, that's why you check. And it was under the r/hockey titled "Jets fans are the greatest." So he's not getting killed online, I don't think, right now.
No, I think people are. No, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't personally do that, but I think look, farts are funny. What can you do? And that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Thanks to Matticus Finch at Matt is Masked, who obviously is with us on the show. Thanks, Matt, who pointed over that link as well. I'll say this. This is weird that for all of the other details of these trades that we still don't have the return.
It's Chevy. He keeps it under wraps. Even when there's a trade done, he doesn't want anyone to know us. I think that's what it is. He's very tight-lipped about what's going on. And
what's a trade? Just we're going to get to the game on tomorrow?
We'll just figure it out. Yeah.
Traded. Yeah.
They'll just secretly update like the website of players and like their draft picks and like won't announce it. We know that they don't like saying what they're doing, Huss. I'm pretty sure that's going on. And Pierre LeBrun reporting that Jake DeBrusk stayed put in Boston. So he's wanted a trade for the whole year. He's playing on the top line.
Signed an extension earlier today.
Signed an extension. Still wants a trade, but he's not going anywhere. I'm not really sure of what the situation is going on with Jake DeBrusk, but he is there.
So the Oilers did make a couple moves. They traded for Brett Kulak on the blue line. And it sounds like they've also acquired Derek Brassard.
Mm-hmm.
And, Brassard for a late round pick, actually, for, a team that has really, struggled at times with their depth of their top 12, might be a nice add. We'll see how much he's got left in the tank. And, they did definitely want some sort of an addition to the depth on the blue line. They get that in Kulak, but no big moves. And Rio, did I see this? Did the Coyotes claim Harry Sateri?
He got claimed, yeah, Harry Sateri. And the reason why I know Harry Sateri, first of all, because his name rhymes, but also I remember he was in Florida a couple years ago, and I was like, Who is this guy? I've never heard of him, and I would bet against him every single time just because, I was like, who is this guy? And I'd always take the opposing top line on DraftKings. I think I got burned every time. Like, Harry Sateri, he's got me again. So yeah, he got claimed. So there you go. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the chat, and people are typing the trades here. But I am just going to wait until I see it myself on Twitter. There is a trade, Nemesnikov going to Dallas from Detroit for a 4th rounder. Chris Johnston reporting that. So there's another trade. Dallas loading up here with Nemesnikov. I guess they did get Scott Wedgwood in goal, which allowed the Coyotes to sign Karel Vejmelka to a contract extension. Has well-deserved.
Best goalie in the league.
Yes.
He's got a 3-year deal. I bet he wins 2 Vezinas in the next 3 seasons. He's that good. And God knows I'm joking. He's not going to win the Vezina, but he will have plenty of opportunities, Remis, to, win games 2-1 with 48 saves like he has done so far this season, because that team is going to be brutal. But Vejmelka has been one of the few real positive stories so far this season. Brassard going from the Oilers from the Flyers to the Oilers. That's a late-breaking trade. Max Domi from CBJ to the Carolina Hurricanes, really the only significant add that the Canes have made. And that was for a guy that was picked 94th in the draft last year. And Ricard Raquel for a 2nd-rounder, a prospect, and it says a roster player right now, so we'll see what player is going back the other way for Ricard Raquel. Pat Verbeek busy the last couple of days.
Yeah, Anaheim, trading Hampus Lindholm. I thought they got a nice haul. And Ricard Raquel, who they traded Deloriers to. So here's Scott Billick update on Andrew Copp. And why is this every other trade on the board? Every other trade today, you know who's going back and forth immediately. This trade, very hung up. Talk that the Jets are getting a young prospect defenseman from the Rangers as part of the return. Being told it is not Niels Lundqvist. All right, so we know who it isn't in the trade. That's for sure. Who it is stay tuned. All you 600 people here. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Billick also mentioning Zach Sanford. I didn't realize Sanford was this big. 6'4", 206-pound left winger, making $2 million this season. I did remember he was a bit of a pain in the ass when he was playing for St. Louis before. So I'll tell you what, the Jets could certainly use that in the lineup right now. And whether he's around next season, this could be sort of like the DeMello trade in 2020, where you pick him up, you like him, and you end up signing to a deal that works for both sides, and go from there. But it doesn't really seem. It's interesting, and I'm just going back and to Harman Dayal kind of discussing some of the returns that we've seen. Canucks getting a 4th-round pick for Tyler Mott. He said the return seems a bit light, but a 3rd and a 4th-round pick isn't out of line with the market when you consider what Appleton, Delorier, and Larson fetched. Canucks at least got something for Mott and avoided overpaying on the extension. What was weird about Appleton, though, is that he was still under team control. This wasn't a UFA player. This is an RFA player, and I think that just worked out perfectly into the Jets' hands, especially knowing that Andrew Copp was in all likelihood heading out of town today.
Yeah, I that's why I like the Appleton move, because we've been saying, okay, well, if you trade Copp, who's going to replace him? Because their bottom forward depth has been not great this year. I mean, Harkins scored twice yesterday, but he hadn't scored for quite some time. Christian Vesalainen hasn't worked out. You can't have guys who have zero shot at scoring points on your bottom 6. I mean, you look at successful teams; they're getting contributions from everywhere. So Appleton would be the direct replacement to Copp on the wing. I guess if you're putting Adam Lowry at center there on the 3rd line. So I like getting Appleton. He fits here. He's cheap. He's an RFA after the season, so you got 1 year of control. Maybe you sign him. So I'm not sure.
Who's playing 3rd line center tomorrow?
Hold on. This is the best comments ready to get to that. Came into the stream late. Was the fart discussed? And can anyone give me a timestamp? I said like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Credit to us. To us for not immediately leading with that story, because we could have easily done that and done a good half hour on that. But luckily, there was many other things. But
I had to stop our whole conversation to bring that up again. I had to. I had to. What are the lines going to be? I guess it would I'm assuming Appleton, Lowry, Sanford. Would that be your
Lowry's
third line?
Lowry's got COVID, dude. Lowry can't play tomorrow.
Oh yeah, he's got. Can he even go in Canada? We haven't really heard any updates. That was a big thing last game.
I think Jeff Hamilton. Let's just confirm. But I know Jeff asked Dave Lowry about that after, and he goes, "Oh, we're working on that." And then I think Jeff said that Adam Lowry is in fact already in Canada. Now there were some questions as to how he got back. Here it is. Okay, this is from Jeff. A little more Jets news for those who are still up. Not a trade, though. As my story says, Adam Lowry is back in Winnipeg after testing positive for COVID-19 24 hours ago. As is federally mandated, the rule is Lowry can't cross the border for Canada for 10 days. The explanation I got from the team is that Lowry was cleared by border officials with the suggestion that it kind of aligns with the recent trend of lessening restrictions. I'm assuming that would only happen if Lowry was fully vaccinated, with no symptoms. If he's got no symptoms, he can join the team in 5 days. Not sure if that starts Saturday or Sunday, because the Jets have a back-to-back Thursday and Friday. That is the one thing, I was looking at the schedule this week. We know we got Vegas tomorrow, and then the return of Patrick Laine on Friday. But the Ottawa Senators are here on Thursday, and that was the one game that was rescheduled from earlier in the year that had not yet been made up yet. So this is a busy, busy week for the Jets. And hey, if you want to start on a roll, you do it right now. You've got some lesser lights of the league coming in, although I think we've been well documented that the Jets haven't necessarily dominated some of their home games against some of the weaker teams in the league this year. And Vegas isn't that way, but they're just so beat up right now. And interesting, we didn't see a lot done by Vegas, and I guess that's no surprise considering how much they'd done already, including the trade to get Jack Eichel earlier this year.
Yeah, they already did their big trade with Jack Eichel, and I'm a fan of the teams like Calgary and Vegas who get their work done early. But Vegas, I mean, we haven't really looked at the standings today, but they're in a tough spot. I mean, we know the injuries they had. We will be seeing them tomorrow. I thought saw reports earlier that Dadonov was on the way out, but I haven't seen anything fall. But there they are. They're in the 72 points now in 64 games. So if the Jets want to keep pace, you got to win that game tomorrow in Vegas. 4-6-0 in their last 10. They did win 2 in a row. Actually, speaking of on the weekend, I think you called it on this show. I think it was like Thursday, or you called it to me. You looked at the schedule and you were like, Dallas is playing the Islanders on Saturday afternoon. They are 100% losing that game. And I don't know if you bet on it or not, but they definitely did. They definitely did. You're like Tyler Sagan and New York on a Saturday afternoon.
The Stars. Yeah, I don't trust the Stars on a Friday night in New York City with a 1 p.m. start the next day. That was the lock of the century of the week, I think. And he did pop that in on the lock shop as well on the weekend. Who is our fourth line center last night? Toninato, Atomic Kong. Dominic Tony Nato.
Yeah, and
is the guy. Got Milt. The Jets did trade Copp. He's been traded to the Rangers, although we don't have confirmation on what the return is right now, and that's something that we are hopefully going to get relatively soon. But here's an interesting quote from Paul Friesen of the Sun. Shout out Freezer. Andrew Copp to Sportsnet, what went wrong this season? Obviously, every team has been dealing with it, so it's no excuse. But it just didn't seem like we were able to overcome that adversity the way others have so far. I was really anticipating one more deep run. It is disappointing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I kind of said this a couple times. If we were here talking about trading Andrew Copp at this point in the season, things have gone awry, and that's what's happened. But that being said, though, I'm still looking forward to these games. And you know what? Hey, you want to at least make things exciting for the fans? Get on a bit of a roll right now. Vegas, a decimated Vegas team. Ottawa Senators, Columbus Blue Jackets coming up over these next 3 games. And, and then I believe a trip to Buffalo as well. So, I mean, definitely winnable games. But I'll say one thing. I know we haven't spent a lot of time talking about last night's game, with the exception of a certain incident that happened after a Jets goal. But that was, as Rennie said, that was certainly no blueprint of a team that's, fighting for their lives to get into the playoffs. They're going to need to tighten it up in a big way starting tomorrow against Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, look at the last couple games, Hess. In the Vegas game and the Boston game, you have, in each of those games, you have a period where you go 13 minutes in the first period of the Vegas game and in the second period of the Boston game. You go like more than half the period without getting a shot, and they got totally dominated in that second period. Now they woke up in the third period and scored 2 quick ones against Boston. Like, oh, we got a game here. But I mean, that's just so much from the team this season. I mean, sometimes they look absolutely terrible, and other times they look like they could be for sure a playoff team. And so I don't know what to make. That's why I think they are kind of like Calgary, where you're like they should be better. I think a lot of it is this overtime too. I mean, if they win a couple more overtime games, they're well into a spot. I mean, losing to Dallas in OT 3 times is pretty rough.
And think about those games. I mean, 2 of them should never even got to overtime in the first place. I mean, you win one of those games, and it is one of those games in regulation. It's a 3-point flip, and you're basically talking about being tied right now. Although Dallas has a couple games in hand, so hey, it is what it is. They are where they are right now. But I'll tell you what, 4 games in 6 nights beginning tomorrow against Vegas, who's decimated injury-wise, Ottawa, Columbus, and the Arizona Coyotes, and then a trip to Buffalo.
Yep.
Listen, you got to win 14 of your final 19 games to make in the playoffs. You got to get 9, dare I say 10 points out of these next 5 games. And then you're playing the Leafs on the second end of back-to-backs. And that'll be, of course, the Neil Pionk game to Toronto after everything that happened with all that nonsense on December 5th here. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But to be honest, the Leafs have their own worries right now. I'm not sure how much it'll be about that game in December. Sort of does seem like this long, long ago in the rearview mirror. The Leafs will just be hoping that they can get Jack Campbell back or have somebody to be playing a net right now, because Harry Sateri has been claimed. Peter Mrazek's been waived and presumably sent to the minors. I'm not too sure what Kyle Dubas has up his sleeve, but goaltending, a very, very major issue right now. Before it was the Oilers that were so desperate for goaltending. And then, who was it today? It was the Minnesota Wild that were getting Marc-Andre Fleury, and, the Leafs and Oilers kind of, shoring up other parts of their roster.
Yeah, well, wait. Have Leafs fans forgot about Neil Pionka? Are they too focused on losing games to Buffalo the last couple weeks and the goaltending situation? I almost forgot about that. So we're kind of just waiting and seeing here on this Copp trade. So for everyone in chat, Andrew Copp's been traded to the Rangers, but we don't know the return. And
no, we can't end the show until we know exactly what is happening right now.
So Jarmo Kekalainen just spoke to the media as per Mark Daig. He says 33 trades are in the queue at the Central Registry. And shout out to Leslie, who wrote that in chat.
Are in the queue or total? Like for total today?
Are in the queue. In the queue. So there could be way more trades. So I don't know, like I might need to go refill my water or something. We've been sitting here. That's what, like, the 2-hour show I'm able to handle without a proper break. But
in fact, okay, listen, I need to go go to the bathroom quickly. You give them the rundown of either trades or these games tonight. Okay. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Okay, we're gonna rotate it out here. You're gonna go. I'll take over. Hey, what's up, everyone? How is it? It's Winnipeg Sports Talk here, Tuesday, Thursday, Sundays. Not Tuesday. Sorry, Monday to Friday, 1 Central. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. Appreciate everyone coming out today. Mainly talking Winnipeg Jets. I know we got a lot of new people from our big article over the weekend in the Winnipeg Free Press. Check that out. We're going until 6. No. So yeah, we run down the Winnipeg Jets trades last night. Mason Appleton reacquired. We were big fans of that move. We also had the Nathan Beaulieu for a 7th, and then there was the Brian Little and Brian Little and Nathan Smith for a 4th, and then there was the Andrew Copp trade. Paul Stastny not traded. I think a bit of a surprise there. He is a UFA. Yeah, he's a UFA, and the Jets, seemingly aren't going to make the playoffs, so they got a 10% chance. 10% chance, so they'll be going with him and try to go on a run here. We look at the Jets' schedule. It is favorable, coming up very favorable. So, maybe there's an outside chance you go on a win streak against some of these poor teams. No better way. Keep it going tomorrow night against Vegas. Also Ottawa, Columbus. Big. Rob Mahoney, please stop or I will ban you. I can't read the chat and do this. Everyone's trying to psych me out. Ottawa and then Columbus. The big Patrick Laine return on Friday. There are some games on tonight. I saw people saying there shouldn't be games on trade deadline day. I was like, no. Well, let's have the games at night. Come on. We got Bruins and Canadians at 6. Wild, Golden Knights at 7. Oilers and Avalanche. And Predators and Ducks. And I always like the baseball trade deadline where you'd have players like literally changing teams mid-game. So that's night. Huss is back. I will go, but I think it's pretty much a must-win for the Jets if they have any hope of making the playoffs. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. I'm trying my best over here. I know Hustler's back. I'm going to refill my water and also take a break. Do we have any reads you want to do, Huss?
Yeah, I'm going to do the reads right now. We got to give a big shout out to our friends at Nick and Nikki DQ. I know Elliot's in the chat today, and he was the last place marble winner. That's another thing, actually, for those of you that are with us that have never been with us regularly or especially on Friday's show. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button, but also come back and hang out with us on Friday afternoon because at the end of the show every day, we do a marble race for everyone that's in the chat, and it is incredibly fun, popular. We've got some great Winnipeg Sports Talk hoodies we've given out to the winners, but we did do a DQ cake, ice cream cake, those amazing DQ ice cream cakes from Nick and Nikki DQ for the last place marble, and I know Elliot was that, so I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, 4 locations in Winnipeg and Southern Manitoba from Nick and Nikki, the DQ in Niverville, DQ Northgate, DQ Polo Park, and DQ St. Anne's. Check out these amazing new signature grill burgers that are available right now, the Red Velvet Blizzard. And of course, if you do want to order your own DQ ice cream cake for a party or gathering, you can call any of the 4 locations or hit them up on Instagram at DQ Manitoba order it. They'll custom make it for you and have it ready at any of the 4 locations for you. And speaking of the marble race, we've got these great Winnipeg Sports Talk Canadian Club hoodies to give away. Come by Friday afternoon and have your chance to win. I'm sure all the regulars in the chat will tell you how much fun the marbles are. We can even get some marbles in there. Home one today, a trade day marble race. We'll see what the CTO has to say about that. But yeah, and we've got some great prizes from our friends at Canadian Club. And of course, Canadian Club is a proud sponsor of Winnipeg Sports Talk. CC on sale right now at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And we are just a couple of weeks away from the official launch of the RTD. That's the anagram for ready to drink. Canadian Club and ginger ale pre-mixed cocktails, going to come in 6 packs of cans, which you'll be able to get at your local Manitoba liquor marts and potentially at beer stores as well, are the ones that have the RTD option. So big thanks to Canadian Club. And for those of you that haven't been here before, hit that red subscribe button, hit the thumbs up too, if you wouldn't mind, and join us daily here. But make sure you come by Friday afternoon towards the end of the show. Marble race, always super, super fun. All right, one other thing, and I know Remis mentioned what games were on the docket right now for tonight. Let's quickly get to our Coolbet lines for our friends over at Coolbet. 4 games, Bruins at Habs. Bruins a big -227 money line favorite. The Wild -179 favorite against the Vegas Golden Knights. And oh, that's beautiful. Vegas is going to be on the second end of back-to-backs tomorrow coming here to Winnipeg. That is welcome news. Edmonton is in Colorado to take on the Beasts of the West, the Colorado Avalanche. Avalanche -196 favorites at home against the Oilers. And the Nashville Predators -167 favorites against Anaheim. We've also got women's curling coming on this afternoon. Carrie Anerson and Team Canada -400 favorites against Denmark. Got Germany and the Czech Republic, Turkey, Switzerland, USA, Korea in tonight's draw, or I guess the 4:00 draw. And then we've also got action starting at 9 p.m. because of course it's out in Prince George. If you've never bet at Coolbet before, use the promo code WST on your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Oh, Remo, I got a cough here for a second.
Yeah, no problem. I'll take over. Yeah, looking at the, we're still waiting on Andrew Copp trade. Every other trade today, you find out the return immediately. This one that we've been waiting for, not, you don't know. So we were hoping, 2 seconds at first. So we will wait and see. But the Jets, getting Zach Sanford as well. I don't know what the line is going to be like tomorrow. We'll have to see it in the morning skate. We'll be here again tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central. We are every day. So. And also, make sure you're checking out our social medias. A lot of great stuff. We're 8 followers away, actually, on Instagram for 2,000. So give us a follow, Sports Talk, WPG on Instagram. Closing in on 1K on TikTok. So give us a follow. All the links to our social medias in the description. Would love to get that 2,000 on Instagram. So there you have it.
Perfect. One other trade to announce.
Oh, really?
And it's not from the NHL.
Oh, okay, good. Let's get to this.
It's from the NFL. The Falcons are trading former NFL MVP Matt Ryan to the Colts for a 2022 third-round pick. That's from Tom Pelissero, as well as Rap Sheet, Ian Rappaport, and Mike Garafolo. Very interesting. They move on from Carson Wentz. They get him to the Washington, what are they called again? The Guardians? No, that's Cleveland. No, that's Commanders.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Excuse me. I still there's all those people I like the old name. I don't like the old name, but I really did love the Washington football team. Anyways, Wentz is there. And now Matt Ryan is going to Indy, but they didn't get Deshaun Watson. They didn't draft a quarterback last year. This could be scorched earth for the Falcons this year. And you got to feel for a guy like Pitts, who was a rookie last year, was he the 4th overall pick, thought he was going to have a big year. Now, I don't know what that offense is going to be like, but it wasn't just the National Hockey League that were making some big deals for picks today. It was also the NFL. Let's do a little refresh here, see if we've got any more information on these trades.
I see a lot of people in chat saying this happened an hour ago. Hey, we were talking about NHL the whole time. So
Yeah, exactly.
we never talked about it.
Yeah,
what do you want
the
us
NHL
to do?
trade deadline day, we figured that, maybe there's some people that didn't know about that we could hit to that because we've been hitting all the. We've been talking about Derek Brassard going for TBA to, from Philly to Edmonton, or Max Domi for a prospect, Ricard Raquel, But so we had to mention Matt Ryan getting traded to the Colts today, and Colts have a good roster. I'm going to be really interested to see it. He's got a massive contract too. I don't know how they work all that out, but
we do actually have some Jets transactions. I mean, these are just paper transactions. Well, they are paper, but real ones too.
Important for the Moose.
Heinola, Jeff Malott, aka Fedge Malott, Christian Reichel to the Moose. So that's so they can play in the playoffs if they do get called up later. So there may not be Jets playoff run, but we're getting pumped up. No
Perfetti though.
He's on LTIR, so I don't know how that works. But no, he's not on this list.
Interesting.
So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure of the situation. But the one thing we didn't touch on was also over the weekend, the World Juniors got announced. That was like late Friday to be the summer in Edmonton. Like, I don't think, are they going to let Perfetti play in it? He was supposed to play. Now that he's kind of established himself as an NHL regular, like, I don't know. I don't know if they want him there in the summer.
It's in August. You want that right before training camp to go in? I don't know. I mean, like, for a lot of players like that, where this is the highlight of their career, I'm happy they're getting the opportunity to play.
Mm-hmm.
But for guys that project to be in the National Hockey League, it'll be very interesting to see what the Canadian team looks like as opposed to what it was supposed to be when the event originally happened, as to what it will look like when it actually drops the puck on it in late summer in August.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. So that's something people are asking us about Perfetti quite a bit, but I'm not expecting him back anytime soon. They kind of just kept saying, "Oh, he's ways away, not skating."
Oh, is Loveface in here today?
Yeah,
I
just had to ban. I had to ban one of
Loveface's crew. One of Loveface's crew. If you know, you know. Oh, yeah, Schickster, Aussie rules. Hey, shout out to my Sydney Swans. Big win in the wild world of wagering. That was nice last week.
So sorry, just about that, sorry to interrupt, just about those send-downs. Billick says because Perfetti's not on the list, is a tell that he's not expected to play again this year. So,
yes,
I guess
that's unfortunate.
I think this injury is much worse than they've let on. I mean, they've said he's going to be out for a while, but they haven't said that he's done for the season. So I think people keep asking us every day in chat, when's this guy going to play? And it's seemingly this is longer term than I think we were led to believe.
We've got another bit of breaking news from my guy, the People's Insider, Kevin Weeks.
Okay.
And Kevin Weeks, it's not a video though. He just did and I'm not sure, he's got the goal light, and I'm not sure what the second emoji is. But the Islanders sign Zach Parise and Cal Clutterbuck to extension.
A lot of stuff happening today.
We thought Clutterbuck would have definitely been a guy that, some playoff teams would have loved to have had in for some grit on their fourth line. But anyways, we will see how that shakes out. But no trade, but a couple of extensions for Zach Parise. And Parise, I was just looking at Parise's year because, of course, he got bought out. 8 goals, 16 assists, 24 points in 60 games. I mean, not terrible. Certainly not what he was when he signed that massive deal, but on a bargain basement contract after being bought out. Good for him that he's earned another contract and another year in the league.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know, I don't know what to make of those buyouts from Minnesota. I mean, Suter's doing well, but good for Zach Parise continuing on with the Lou on Long Island, who the Islanders has, we've talked about them and the Jets as the most disappointing teams this year. I mean, they were so close to the Cup final, went to the conference final last year, really high expectations, and there are 61 points in 60 games. I mean, do the circumstances of waiting for the arena to be ready at the start of the season, did that screw them? I'm not sure.
And COVID. They had the worst COVID luck of any team because they got it. They got decimated and they had to play their games. Like Calgary's whole team got it and they were shut down for a bit before everyone else did. And then by the time it was affecting everyone else, they were good and pretty much it had gone through their entire organization. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
It also helps that Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk are having career years for Calgary too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great timing for them too in contract years as well. I can't believe we're 5 minutes away from 3 p.m. and we still don't know what the Jets have gotten for Andrew Copp.
The trade was announced at 2, was it not, or right before?
Yeah, I mean, it was essentially.
Well,
it might have even been 10 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So we will. I guess we can wait and see. I don't know. We got some time. Hustler's got some packs of hockey cards.
I'm gonna
He's
start
got marble race.
Packs. Is this what it's come down to?
It's just gonna be me firing up NHL 22 and simulating what the trade is. So and then as far as
you know what, I have no issue with doing a marble race. Actually,
I want to give away something for everyone in the chat. Just do the biggest marble race ever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's do that. The trade deadline marble race.
All right. What do we have prizes?
Well, yeah, we'll give one of the hoodies.
Sure, do it.
We just got them. Shout out to our James and our friends over at Canadian Club. Got the new sizes yet. By the way, I am sick, so if you're planning on picking up today, you might need to push it a day. Wednesday might be a good day for pickups of these. But yes, I know, Mitch, it has been an hour. So exactly, people are fired up. We're seeing the marbles in the chat from all you members. Thanks very much, by the way, for everyone supporting the channel with the memberships. If you're wondering why the guys are green with the microphones, we set up a little something when we started our 2-year anniversary or 1-year anniversary last week. It's $2 a month, supports the channel, allows us to maybe get some new equipment and stuff like that. And great way. And now we have some bunch of fun, wild emojis. So this is what you need to do. Did you open it up, Reem?
Oh, I'll do it right now. One sec. We'll do one. I think it's fair. It's trade deadline day. This is a special show. We got a lot of people in chat. We want to give away a hoodie, do a marble race. There it is. Exactly. It's open. It's open.
Okay, it is open. Now, there you go. So Turd, Eric, Derek, Dom, you need to do it again. But it is officially open now. And look at this. Boom. Exclamation mark marbles. And again, that's all you need to do if you're a newcomer. But to win, you do need to be subscribed to the channel. So make sure to hit that red subscribe button. And we'll give you a couple minutes. You can put in exclamation mark marbles. Then we'll put everyone into a marble race. This does have the potential to be the biggest marble race in WST history, I would say. Look at the chat go right now. Holy smokes. Beautiful. Exclamation mark marbles, everybody. If you would like to participate, it's completely free. Fun way to do it. We'll just have the one prize today for first prize, though, with the hoodie. I didn't arrange for additional cakes, and we did a couple last week, but we will try and do one for Fridays for the last place marble race finisher. But as you can see, if you're with us in the chat, all you do, exclamation mark marbles. You only need to do it once. And we'll give you a moment to get your marble in. And Remo, I don't know what course. I know we're sort of just pulling this off as we await news on this trade. I'm not sure what course you're thinking about, but
I haven't. Yeah, I'm just loading it. I'm just waiting to see what we got here. There's just so many names in it. Amazing seeing everyone in chat today.
This is probably going to be the biggest marble race in WST history today, because we haven't done it on these extra big days like trade deadline, or we didn't do a marble race to commemorate Paul Maurice stepping down in February in December or whatever when it happened. Oh, there's Gitch. What's up, Gitch? Gitch would have loved that guy's act at the Blackhawks game last night.
Should I send him a DM? Is that where we're at here? That's our form of journalism? Colin?
Yes, exactly. That's the big interview everyone wants to hear.
It was literally on every Twitter thing. It was almost, I think it was more popular than Jeff Malot's walk-off shootout move.
It was everywhere. It was everywhere. Okay. Oh, there it is. No, there is not it. Still looking for return on Andrew Copp's trade to the New
No.
York Rangers.
Still waiting.
But you know what? Now that so there are more trades coming through. Like Calgary trades Michael McNiven, goaltender Michael McNiven, to Ottawa for future considerations. There couldn't be 30 trades in the hopper, could they? Oh, and Ken Hughes in Montreal said they came close to trading Shea Weber's contract today. Guess what? The Coyotes were one of the teams that Montreal spoke to about Weber's contractual rights. But in fact, the Jets ended up trading them Brian Little's contract. Okay, last call for the marbles, gang. Exclamation mark marbles if you haven't done it already. If you just popped in, you're just getting under the wire. And we're going to load them up for potentially one of the biggest marble races of all time.
I got to get the song ready before I close it. I always forget what folder it's in.
Oh, okay, yeah. Get the song. That's what everyone needs to hear right now.
I need that to pump me up. The marble song. Hold on.
Me too.
I'm just trying to find where I save this stuff. I got so many damn folders. Here it is. Oh, wait. You know what? I don't even have the names ready. Jeez, I haven't closed all this. Okay, sorry. I'm way behind.
Okay, so you know what? Again, impromptu marble race. We'll get to it in just a minute. But yeah, if you want to close off the marbles, I guess, and then get the list.
We can talk. There was a couple things from the weekend games the Friday game. I did tweet out the video. The Jets have the empty net. They're trying to tie the game up after giving up the go-ahead power play goal. And Charlie Coyle, was that like a leg sweep on Josh Morrissey? Doesn't get called, of course, because, I don't know if you knew this, but when you have a power play at the last minute of a game, you're not allowed to get a 5-on-3, no matter what the penalty is. It's a rule. The Bruins I think this was just a heads-up play by Charlie Coyle. He knew that they weren't going to call a penalty no matter what. And he's like, I'm just going to stick my leg out and trip Josh Morrissey, and they're not going to call it. And he was right. So
Morrissey was hot. I mean, I don't know. Has Morrissey ever gotten a 10 before?
He was livid. And the best part about that play was how far his stick went flying.
Oh, I know.
It went for a ride. So yeah, he's usually a pretty calm, cool guy, and I think that's correct for him to lose his mind. He didn't lose his mind, but he threw a stick after he got a 10. I mean, well done, Josh Morrissey, because it's kind of BS when you see these blatant calls. And
it was. And I mean, the way that game, I mean, not to go back to Friday, but I mean, you tie the game up after that just brutal second period. And then, I mean, Brendan Dillon, God bless him. I mean, you could just see the look on his face the minute that thing went off his stick and flew into the stands going, I can't believe I just did that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're hoping your teammates could bail you out. Unfortunately, they didn't. And this gets back to, was it Sean that was mentioning, or no, it was Mike that was mentioning Bruce Cassidy's comments.
Yeah.
That, the Jets, they have had a very hard time moving people out in front of the net. And I mean, Taylor Hall of all people, I mean, just basically they're, going down, boom, thank you very much, rebound in, and they win 3-2. Yeah, that was a dagger because they've been playing some good hockey. They've been getting some good results. Came back with a win last night. Certainly no Picasso. But again, it's about getting 2 points right now. And they've certainly got an opportunity with this schedule over the next 5 games to, maybe make things interesting. But they'll be doing it without Andrew Copp. But Mason Appleton back in the mix, as well as Zach Sanford, former St. Louis Blue, coming over from the Ottawa Senators.
One other thing, too, about that play. I mean, I tweeted out the video, and a lot of people were replying to me like, the game wasn't decided on that call. You know that, right? I was like, I'm just putting the video here showing what happened. Like, I never said anything. And look, we've all watched the Jets on 5-on-3s this year. It hasn't gone that well. So I don't think you just want to see the rules called according to the rule book. And, when you're trying to make a comeback after a disappointing, end to the game, for a guy to stick his leg out so clearly and not get called, that was disappointing. That was a disappointing. I mean, but the second period, I think they lost it in the second period, that game anyways. I didn't really touch on this. The one thing that I'm still, concerned about with the Jets, why you think they aren't a playoff team. I mean, they just keep giving up 3 goals a game, like Hellbuck, over and over again. I mean, I don't know if this is a team defense issue. Craig Button maybe alluded to that earlier.
Well, if you watch the Sunday game, it certainly is. That's a big part of it. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, so it's hard to win. You keep giving up 3 goals every single game, and you look at Connor Hellbuck's game log. That's what it is.
That being said, Connor needed to have that 4th goal. I mean, that game was closer than it probably should have been.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the Blackhawks were brutal in that game. I mean, that was one of those games that, I mean, the coaches, I'm sure, want to burn the tapes afterwards. I mean, you saw some nice offense and some, a couple nice goals by the Winnipeg Jets. But that was, I'll echo Rennie's thoughts from earlier. That was absolutely no blueprint for for any sort of a playoff run. Not a run to the playoffs, a run in the playoffs, a win in the playoffs. That's not going to get it done. But we'll see what they can do against the Vegas Golden Knights, who, as we mentioned, Remo, are in Minnesota to take on the Wild tonight, and it'll be coming here tomorrow for the game.
Yeah, I love that, how they always schedule the Minnesota and then here. I think it's great. Big fan of that. So we'll wait and see. We'll see what the injuries are for Vegas tomorrow. We'll see what the lineup is. As far as the Jets, we're going to see what their lineup is too. I mean, trading Andrew Copp, getting Zach Sanford, getting Mason Appleton, Paul Stastny remaining. I think I wasn't sure if people wanted to see him moved or not. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you could have got something for him, Huss. Does this mean that they're going to re-sign him?
Pick? I mean, listen, I don't really care about 6th round picks or 5th round picks. Those are so rarely turning into players, albeit Mason Appleton was a 6th rounder and Sammy Niku, who I know a lot of people loved, was a 7th rounder. But for the most part, those are real long shots. So if we're talking about a 5th or a 6th round pick, I'd rather have Paul Stastny continuing to play with Scheifele and Wheeler, for the rest of this season and see what they can do. Now, if you were telling me that they turned down a 2nd round pick for him, it's a different story. But I really don't think that was the case. I mean, it was a 4th rounder a year ago. So would it be different right now? I don't really know. I don't really know why that would be, especially with one more year, albeit a cheaper contract this season. And that always is something that's very important. All right. We will continue to wait for Andrew Copp. But as we mentioned, if you're with us right now, we're killing a bit of time. So let's do a marble race on WST. Tristan Rivers, hit the music. All right, there we go. Hey, Robert, thanks for being a supporter of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Awesome. Yeah, and people were wondering how long we're going for. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not feeling well. I would love to finish this show soon. And we do have to get the podcast up for sure, but we kind of would like to know the return for Andrew Copp before the show is over. So that being said, hopefully by the time this marble race is over, maybe we'll have some clarity on that. We've got a Winnipeg Sports Talk hoodie for our first place finisher, courtesy of our friends at Canadian Club. And we'll do this again on Friday. This is a special, one-time only, Trade Center edition marble race on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Remo, how many are in?
231. I did put the return and the Andrew Copp trade is in there, and Brian Little also in there as well.
Good. What about Cupcake Guy?
Oh, I forgot him. Damn it.
Well, that's okay. That's
Darn.
okay. We'll put him in on Friday. People will still be talking about that on Friday, I guarantee you. All right. Here we go. Trade Center edition. As we wait for the Andrew Copp return for the Winnipeg Jets, let's drop the marbles on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
There's so many in here.
This is the biggest marble race of all time. How many? What course is this, by the way?
This is called Endurance Test.
Oh, the endurance test. Good. Maybe a little bit of extra time for us to figure out who is coming back. for Andrew Copp. What's the return? Hello. Someone just tell us, please. Would be really.
What's up, Bart? Thanks. Welcome to the supporters club. You guys do get what? You get the microphone and a green name, and you have some sweet emotes, and we do change them up.
Yeah, Bart and Robert, thanks very much for doing that. That is great. Okay, Theo Seegers with a nice early lead.
Yeah, well,
Theo is a good marbles player. I mean, he's often been in the mix. I remember saying his name a number of times. We're doing it right here. Who else do we got here? John D, Derek Homer, Frosty Winnipeg's in the mix. Dan Milburn, the Earl of Eli. Robert Palmer, Tim Pedden. Cruising through. Theo, Theo Seegers Marble is just doing a great job at leading the way here. Oh, oh no, that's not good. Moose 3 with a nice big win. Well, not win, but definitely a win going of Frosty Winnipeg still looking good. Robert Palmer's in there. Rambler 231.
See who comes out of this.
Yeah, who is going to be first coming down the right? Looks like it's Moose 3. Oh, here we got Moose 3, Dan Jets fan, Rambler 231.
Well, they're all stuck
Moose
there.
3. Frosty Winnipeg has got some heat here. Oh, and this might work out great. Is he going to get stuck? Oh, he made it through. He made it through. Frosty Winnipeg, Robert Palmer, and Moose 3. Who's it going to be? Oh, they're not done yet. They're not done yet. This is coming down right to the end. Could it be? Frosty Winnipeg. Nicely done. Oh, relaxing. Relaxing. That is the best. I think I saw you on Twitter. That is the best handle, by the way. Shout out to you, my friend. There we go. Frosty, Dan, Jets fan, Robert Palmer, Moose 3, Relax Thing are our finalists coming in. Frosty Winnipeg, a huge dub.
Way to go,
and again,
Frosty.
we don't award more points for this, but we can tell you that was maybe the greatest victory in Winnipeg Sports Talk marble race history, because you beat 230 other marbles to get the W.
That was one of the closest races we've ever had. Actually,
it was for sure. And Andrew Copp's return finished 7th.
Yeah, the return. That's such a good one. But yeah, that was a great track. That was endurance test. I really like that one. I would use that again. But yeah, shout out to Frosty getting the hoodie. Theo Seegers was in there for a while, ran into a couple of obstacles. I thought he was way too far ahead. I'm like, there's no way you can run the table here like this. It's gonna be pretty hard.
Very tough. Oh no. Oh, trade's now official. Oh no, that's Adam Schefter. Matt Ryan for a 3rd round pick. We already know that, but that pick is official right now.
Did you watch any of the March Madness over the weekend? How's your bracket? Still alive?
You know what? The bracket is not too good, I don't think. However, I have actually been on a complete heater betting on the game. And let's just see. Let's do a quick update on the men's tournament challenge here. Yeah, no, I'm ugly.
I had the one thing I've discovered about these brackets is really just all about if you can pick the winner correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
And the final four, the beginning doesn't matter, but so I had Auburn to win, and they lost yesterday. So I'm done. I don't care. I don't care about March Madness anymore.
I escaped. I had Arizona. And they are still alive. I had Ohio State though. They lost. So who did I have? Arizona, Iowa. Oh, I still have Texas Tech and UCLA, so they're still alive. We will see what happens. This is absolutely unbelievable. We are not. Let's see if Dave Pagnotta has.
Man, a lot of people just coming back, I guess, meeting with the boss, realizing that they missed a marble race. Yeah, we already ran it. Shout out to Frosty who took it down. So Frosty.
Attaboy, Frosty. Send us an email with your size. We'll get you hooked up.
Yeah. Josh Morrissey's left nut rates. Bro had Auburn rep. Yeah, I lost. I'm done. I was actually pretty good in my home pool. I was the only one to take Auburn. I was like, if they win, I definitely, if they win, I win the pool. But they did not win. So they had pretty good odds on Coolbet. They were one of the top teams. We're hearing reports also Chevy is talking at 4. So I would hope that it comes out before then, or is Chevy just going to announce the trade himself? He's like, no insider.
Yeah.
He's going to steal my thunder. Only I announce the trades. The one that we've been waiting here for all day. Chevy.
No doubt. Atomic Kong WCGC match play is a much more fun bracket than March Madness. I am 100% in. And I was actually just going to bring up, I went on with Skylar Peters on the OB Primetimes sports show, or CJOB sports show on Thursday when Christian O'Mel was gone. Skylar always likes talking betting with me. So we were talking about a bunch of the games and the picks I had. It was maybe the worst. I was like, everything was wrong. Went into, that was St. Patrick's Day, went out, had a good time that night, and then had to do lock shot picks late at night. I ended up going 10-1 with the picks, including 3-0 in women's tennis, 2-0 in the NBA, 2-0 in Aussie rules football, and had the very rare 4-game NBA women's tennis Aussie rules parlay that came through. And that just kind of shot me into the weekend, Reem, with the exception of a close call. We had some Adam Hadwin action at the Valspar. Many wins. And last night had the a Jets Buffalo parlay last night. Shout out the Sabres and Rasmus Dahlin for his beautiful overtime winner to get the dub. So
wait, was that against
Kong? I'm ready to go.
Was that against Calgary? The
Against
Sabres?
Vancouver.
Oh, against Vancouver. How about the Sabres win against Calgary on Saturday? I had this DraftKings lineup all set up all right. Where's that Friday? I think that was Friday.
Yeah, that was Friday.
That was Friday.
Was funny. I said I was 10-1.
Yeah.
The one pick I got wrong in the entire lock shop, 10 winners, 1 loser. That was the one that I put in for the partner parlay, the over 6.5, and it ended up 0-0 in regulation. So, I apologize publicly for screwing up the partner parlay. Everything else is
Man,
good, though.
did you see the one goal that Buffalo scored on Friday?
I didn't.
Oh my God! It was like Markstrom went to play the puck and like messed it up, and then someone just scooped it up and tapped it into the empty net.
What a way to lose a game. Calgary's fine though. They're doing doing just fine.
Here we are, Darren Dreger tweeting about the conditions of the Andrew Copp trade.
Okay, here we go.
Wait, let me just real quick. He says, Copp conditions. The conditions are a second that can turn into a first for winning 2 rounds in the playoffs, and Copp plays 50% of the games, and another second that can be Winnipeg's option in 22 or 23. So those are the partial details. So there might be a player as well.
Yeah, we don't know who the prospect is. But I'll tell you what, Darren said, he said he was still working on the Copp return to Winnipeg. Sounds like picks and a prospect. So, I mean, I guess it is essentially 2 seconds. And we're all going to be big Ranger fans come the playoffs. If they could pull off Shesterkin, get hot, get on a roll, get to the conference finals, and that pick turn into a first rounder, that would be fine. And obviously, I think Chevy was grinding these guys with these conditions. They wanted more. Well, okay. Give us a conditional first. You'd be happy if you get to the conference finals, okay? And then another second that can be Winnipeg option in 22 or 23. No, let's just get cap friendly up here right now and see how many seconds do the Rangers have this year.
Yeah, I mean,
and they have 2 second rounders this year. They've got St. Louis's and they've got their own. And then there's a 2023 one that's potentially. So it's 2 second rounders, could potentially be a first rounder. But I am interested in who was the prospect in addition. I'll say this, though. If you told me that this is what they ended up getting from Andrew Copp, I think that's pretty good value. I didn't think that there'd be a first round pick out there. I get building the conditions in where it could turn into it. But at worst case scenario, you're getting 2 second rounders for Copp.
Yeah, I think we were hearing that was the minimum. Not the minimum that was out there. We heard they wanted a first. I mean, I guess I said earlier today, are we all cheering for the Rangers now? And the answer is yes, because if they win 2 rounds and Copp plays in half the games, one of those seconds could turn into a first for the Jets. So, yeah, we're hopping on the Rangers bandwagon. Igor Shesterkin, Jacob Trouba, Adam Fox, and Artemi Panarin. Big Rangers fan now, so that would be great for them if it went, but I think you get 2 seconds. I think you have to like that return. And I also wonder now, and going into the offseason, if you look to trade one of your veteran defensemen, if you have some cap space and you get even more picks for that, or you get a depth player. So I like, I think this is pretty good, day here for Cheveldayoff. Maybe like to see Stasny dealt, or do they go to sign him? We'll wait and see. Okay, so Dreger also tweeting 48 seconds ago. Prospect to the Jets, Morgan Barron. And then they're swapping. The Jets are also getting a 2023 fifth round pick, and they're sending them a 2023 sixth round pick.
Okay, so this is a great way to finish off. We finally have clarity as to this trade. By the way, Morgan Barron has played 13 games for the Rangers this year. He's a center, shoots left. From Halifax, Rick Ralph's stomping grounds. Oh, another Cornell player. Let's see. Was he a teammate of our buddy Fedge Malott?
Oh, there you go.
Cornell. And 9 goals, 6 assists, 15 points in 25 games in the A this year. And then the 2 second rounders, one that is the Jets' choice between 22 or 23. And then the other one that can become a first round pick if the Rangers win 2 rounds in the playoffs and Copp plays in at least 50% of the game.
Yeah, texted it to my friends. Response, let's go Rangers. So
there you go.
There you go.
I'll tell you what. I don't know much about the prospect, but as I said, even before we heard the prospect, the 2 seconds of potentially a first and a second, I think pretty good return considering the situation for the Winnipeg Jets. And I do like what they did getting Mason Appleton in particular in for the 4th round pick. And he's an RFA. Presumably he'll be with the team into next season. And I guess the Zach Sanford, the 5th round pick, that's going to be interesting and see what he can bring. 6'4", over 200 pounds. The Jets have had some holes in that bottom 6, 4th line. So I imagine he'll get an opportunity. He'll get a chance to play against his old team Thursday when the Sens are here, Reem.
Yeah, I was going to say, would there be a video tribute? But, sorry, it's in Winnipeg. But yeah, Zach Sanford, we thought they needed size. They needed some improved depth. He's, played in the NHL for a while. I do remember Zach Sanford. He was the big name when the Blues traded Kevin Shattenkirk to Washington. He was the big return, and he's got 17 points in 62 games this year. Last year had 16 and 52. A couple of years ago with the Blues, he had 30 in 58 games. So we know they need guys who contribute offensively. I guess he would he be under the category of tough to play against at 6'4", over 200 pounds? I think that would help. So they've acknowledged that I don't think it was working out with Christian Vesalainen, and I know Jansen Harkin scored 2 goals, but he went a while without, contributing offensively. So bring Appleton and Sanford in. I get one of them is replacing Copp. Lowry probably not available tomorrow, so it's going to be a different looking Jets lineup. But one thing we do know, the top 2 lines are the same. And if the Jets aren't making the playoffs, we are on the Kyle Connor 50 goal watch. I think that'll be the one storyline that captivates us. But also the Jets.
And the Nikolai Ehlers 29 goal watch for all of us that have those over futures for the season. And he has been, I think he's got goals in 4 straight games. Hey, listen, we got to go because we got to get this pod up for people that are finishing work and expecting to listen to it when they normally do. Quick rundown of trades. New trade to announce. Former Jet Riley Nash.
You got traded?
Is going back to Tampa.
What?
For future considerations. That goalie, Michael McNiven, going to Ottawa from the Flames. The Hamburglar goes to New Jersey. Ryan Carpenter from the Hawks to the Flames for a 2024 5th rounder. Dallas gets Nemetsnikov from Detroit for a 4th rounder in 2024. Max Domi to the Canes, still waiting on return for that. I believe it was a prospect that was picked 94th overall last year. Derek Brassard going to Edmonton from Philly, return TBA, Flyers retaining 50% of Brassard's salary. Ricard Raquel from Anaheim to Pittsburgh for Zach Aston Reese, Dominic Simone, and a second rounder this year. Tyler Mott for a 2023 fourth from Vancouver to the Rangers. Our old buddy, Anthony Bitetto, Tony B, going to the San Jose Sharks for TBA. And then Zach Sanford to the Jets for a 5th round pick in this year's draft to the Ottawa Senators. Johan Larsson from Arizona to Washington for a 2023 third rounder. Andrew Cogliano from the Sharks to the Avs. Nice landing spot for Cogliano. 5th round pick in 2024 to San Jose. Nick Leddy, significant ad for the St. Louis Blues, and Luke Witkowski for Jake Wallman, Oscar Sundqvist, and a 2023 second rounder. Arturi Lekkinen going to the Avs, and I believe the Habs are maintaining some of the salary for Justin Barron and a 2024 second rounder. Former Bruins first rounder Zach Senyshyn traded to Ottawa with a 5th rounder for Josh Brown and a 7th rounder. Brett Kulak is added to the Oilers blue line for William Lagesson and a second rounder this year. Let's see, Justin Braun going to the Rangers for a 2023 third rounder. Alex Biega from the Leafs to the Preds for futures. And Jacob Middleton from the Sharks to the Wild for Capo Kakinen and a 5th round pick. Marc-Andre Fleury, didn't get too much into this, but a conditional second rounder that could become a first rounder if Minnesota makes the conference finals. Marcus Johansson going to the Caps from the Kraken for Daniel Sprong, a 4th and a 6th round pick. And then the moves that the Jets made earlier. Mason Appleton last night for a 4th rounder. Nate Beaulieu for a conditional 7th rounder to Pittsburgh. And then Brian Little's contract and the rights to Nathan Smith to Arizona for a 4th round pick. Arizona, or Nathan Smith presumably was not going to sign with the Winnipeg Jets. And they figured they could get what they could for him, and it does give them a little bit more salary cap flexibility, not this season, but in the seasons to come. Well, Remo, we'll look forward to hearing from Kevin Cheveldayoff coming up at 4 p.m., hearing what he has to say, and then right back at it tomorrow with more reaction, a recap of everything, probably hear from Mason Appleton, maybe Zach Sanford as well, and get ready for the Vegas Golden Knights. Another huge game tomorrow for the Jets as they hope to keep their name in the hunt for a playoff spot, and they're going to need to keep on winning. 5 big games against teams outside the playoff run right now, although I guess Vegas is in the final spot.
Yeah, big game tomorrow against Vegas. So they won last week. Can they repeat on a Tuesday? I know Jeff Hamilton will join us. We'll touch on the Jets moves in the lineup ahead of the game. So yeah, 1 o'clock tomorrow. Make sure, I'm sure we got some new people here. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get notified on like when we go live unexpectedly, definitely that little bell beside there.
Exactly.
Oh, here. There it is. I've always wanted to do this. This is the best part about being a YouTuber.
That's good YouTubing right there, Remis.
Pointing to stuff. Yep. And then like follow our social medias in the description below. We're closing in on 2,000 Instagram followers, Huss. So it's Sports Talk WPG on all socials.
You got it. Check out that article too from Hamilton with us on in the Saturday Free Press. If you haven't seen it, we'll get that pinned tweet up on our Twitter.
Yeah, I pinned it. There you go.
Perfect. It's
good
right
social
there.
Mediaing.
You know it. So anyways, yeah, listen, we could probably stay here all day and talk about it. I'm just out of it. And it's been a long, long show and a big week coming up with 3 games. Tomorrow, Vegas, Thursday, Ottawa, Friday, the return of Patrick Laine. And we'll wait to hear what Kevin Cheveldayoff has to say coming up at 4 p.m. And then we'll break it all down with you tomorrow and get ready for the Jets in Vegas tomorrow on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Hope to see you tomorrow here for more of the show. In the meantime, a big thank you to the sponsors that make this show happen: F Apparel, Vita Health, Culligan Water, Manitoba Battery, Royal Sports, Not AutoCorp, Little Brown Jug, Princess Auto, Boston Pizza, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Canadian Club, and of course our friends over at Coolbet Canada. Folks, thanks so much for joining us today. Great crew today on an always exciting trade deadline day. We'll be back tomorrow before the Jets and Vegas Golden Knights. We'll see you at 1 right here on YouTube and in your podcast feed tomorrow afternoon on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.